minutes to get all the other platforms up. So, as always, YouTube, you are first. So, bear with me. Let me see if I can get my other tablet going. I'm going to try to make this fast. Hopefully, we can get on air real quick. I got there's a bunch of things we need to talk about. But you do see the live stream is titled, Should Democrats Apologize for Jasmine Crockett? That particular topic, it's a couple days old, but I haven't talked to you folks on it, so I do want to hear from you. But that's not going to be the main topic. But I do want to get your opinion on it. So that's why you will see the title, the live stream being named that. So give me a second here. Don't know what I just hit there. Turn that to the side. I'll just put it here if it lets me do it. Should Democrats apologize? Jasmine Crockett is kind of a firecracker, is she not? Kind of a firecracker. It's crazy how many. I mean, to be honest with you, she has pissed off some conservatives. I don't get it. I have no clue how Jasmine Crockett could have pissed off conservatives, but we're certainly going to cover it. So give me another 20 seconds or so to put in the last portions of my hashtags, and we should be up. Okay, I think I got everything set. You have to let TikTok, or better yet, YouTube. They always want to know it's not for kids. And of course, we're not going to be saying anything that's probably good for the ears of children. We tend to get pretty wild on the show, so I always have to make sure I put in it's not for kids. Okay, so we are live on YouTube, and we'll go ahead and start the live right now in 3, 2, 1. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Appreciate you folks being with me this Friday evening. You could be anywhere you want to be, and it's always a pleasure having you here with me. We got several topics. I was not on yesterday, and man, during the Trump administration, just simply being away from being away from the audience, not focusing on the media for one day, a whole lot of shit can happen. And today is no exception. A lot has happened since we last talked, a little bit over 24 hours ago or 48 hours ago, whatever the hell it is. But under the Trump administration, every day you're literally drowning in content coming from that administration. Now, many of you are aware that J.D. Vance went to Greenland today. And what the Greenlanders, you've been hearing from the right how so many folks in Greenland are open to the notion of becoming part of the U.S. That ain't true. I'm going to tell you right off the bat, that is absolutely not true. The folks in Greenland are not interested in becoming part of the United States. We can come up with a million reasons why, but if I had to give my humble opinion, it's probably because they see what's going on with Canada, Panama, and Gaza. So, and not to mention the whole illegal immigrant, migrant craze. You got legal migrants coming from everywhere from the UK, coming from Canada, coming from France, coming from Germany, all getting caught up for even the most mundane issues, and all of a sudden they're being held in confinement for a week or 2 weeks. So I don't think Greenland wants to be part of the United States. I not under the Trump administration. If I'm wrong, I'd be surely would come on here and eat crow, but I absolutely do not see Greenland interested in joining America while President Trump is. I don't think they would have wanted to do it anyway, even under Obama or Biden, but certainly not under Trump because of the way he's bullying other countries that they see, in addition to Denmark itself. So what I want to ask you guys right off the bat in regards to that whole Greenland thing, now, understand we have several territories. We're talking about Puerto Rico. We're talking about U.S. Virgin Islands. We're talking about Guam. We're talking about American Samoa. Real talk, Appreciate opening it up like that. Thank you. Real talk. We're talking about several territories that the United States has. Guam, Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands, America Samoa. I think there's 7. If someone were to try to take one of our territories by force, America would not only defend that territory, but they also, as a NATO member state, could invoke Article 5. Article 5 works like the Three Musketeers, one for all and all for one. Now, that could happen. And all of the NATO member nations would be obligated to help the United States. We invoked Article 5 right after September 11th. And a lot of countries helped us in our pursuit to get rid of Al-Qaeda and bin Laden, both in Iraq and in Afghanistan. Well, here's the issue. Denmark has Greenland as a territory. Denmark is over Greenland, just like we are over Puerto Rico, we are over Guam, we are over America Samoa, we are over the U.S. Virgin Islands. If the U.S. attempts to take Greenland by force, they legally have the right to invoke Article 5 because they are a NATO member nation under attack. The problem is, so is the U.S. The U.S. is also a NATO member nation. So I don't know how that would work. We'll certainly talk about it, but NATO was created as like a band of brothers so that other outsiders could not fuck with us, essentially. The NATO member nations were essentially created like a band of brothers to protect each other. You never expected 2 of the members to be fighting against each other. So if Trump and Vance and the administration in the United States, because it really counts as all of us doing it, if we decide to take Greenland, Denmark has the right as a NATO member nation to call in for help because they're under attack. I don't know how that would work. That literally turns into the U.S. against NATO. So we'll talk about how the logistics of that and how that works. But make no mistake about it, Greenland is a worthy topic because they keep talking about it. It's not like Trump may have been trolling or made some off-culture statement, but they keep talking about it. So we'll have to talk about you guys in regards to the comments, by way of yes or no. Do you believe we ultimately will attempt to acquire Greenland, or do you think it'll stop at Trump's talk? Yes or no? Do you think America under Trump will try to actually acquire Greenland? Because he is saying it over and over and over again, and now he's gotten to the point where he's saying we have to have it. We have to have it. So I see in the comments, Jonesy said 100% they will. Wow. That's scary, folks. That's scary. That's scary. 100%, huh? Damn. What Trump wants, Trump gets, says Mark Travis. I don't think that's any less scary. But I want to, we got more topics. That's going to be something I want to discuss with you folks. But continuing on. Now, many of you are aware, I'm a day late and a dollar short on this topic, but many of you have heard the Jasmine Crockett thing. We'll talk about it briefly. It's not, well, it depends on who you, I was going to say it's not that big of a deal, but it depends on who you ask, because to some folks, it is a big deal.
Congresswoman from North Texas is under fire this morning for comments she made about Governor Greg Abbott.
Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot mess, honey.
Dallas Representative Jasmine Crockett was...
Okay, so she's obviously referring to Texas Governor Greg Abbott as Hot Wheels. He is a paraplegic, paralyzed from the waist down. He is in a wheelchair for the rest of his life, paralyzed by a tree falling on him at the age of 29. I just want to ask you folks, do you think the Democrats should apologize for that? That was an off-color comment mocking a paraplegic, mocking a handicapped man. Do you think the Democrats were wrong and should apologize for it? Now, I already know there's going to be some pushback in certain areas. I know where it's going to come, but we're going to certainly take callers on that because I'm dying to hear the opinion from MAGA and the other side. Now, this is going to get darker as we go, and I got 2 more subjects, And it gets darker from here. It may upset, these next two topics are going to likely upset more folks than certainly the first two. This one you're seeing all over television. It's in commercials now. This is the third topic. We got four today. Kristi Noem, governor of South Dakota, governor of South Dakota, went down to the prison in El Salvador where people were being sent. And they literally made these people take their shirts off. And she's literally doing an anti-illegal immigration commercial using caged humans as a backdrop.
Visiting this facility. And first of all, I want to thank El Salvador and their president for their partnership with the United States of America to bring our terrorists here and to incarcerate them and have consequences for the violence that they have perpetuated in our communities.
Now you can see right now, this is the moment that what it says on the screen there. This was the moment the U.S. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem posed in front of deported Venezuelans. They're literally making the Venezuelans stand in certain positions, made them take off their shirts. They're literally making them act, like you would a caged animal. I suppose you would throw in a treat afterwards for them doing what they want, but they're posing these inmates for the shot. And they're obviously checking the ones with the right tattoos, make sure the ones with the tattoos are up front. Now notice here, they got on shirts. Notice here, they actually are wearing shirts. So why are they in the cage all with no shirts on? It's staged, folks. You can only imagine how cold it would be putting everybody in a cage with no shirt. I mean, listen, penal facilities aren't exactly very warm to begin with. But to make people take their shirts off. Okay, so I'm not going to play the whole clip, but I do want to find out from you folks. Do you favor what she did, using human beings as a backdrop for the message? Literally like caged animals, for lack of a better term. I said it was going to get darker. This one is probably going to upset, if anything, more of my minority audience than anybody else. Trump is considering reparations for those that were incarcerated for their actions on January 6th. I'm just going to tell you flat out. If you're, let's say, part of the Black community in particular, you've heard people asking for reparations your entire life. You've heard the term reparations thrown around your entire life. Well, Trump wants to let the January 6th hostages, for lack of a better term, skip the line and get reparations. That's what it sounds like here. I want you to hear how he answered the question when he was asked about it.
Took care of them. I said I was going to, and I did.
Is there any talk of, because they lost opportunity, they lost income, any kind of compensation fund?
Well, there's talk about that. We have a lot of people talk about it. A lot of the people that are in government now talk about it because a lot of the people in government really like that group of people. They were patriots as far as I was concerned. I talk about them a lot. They were treated very unfairly. I took care of them. I said.
So what do you think? Do you think, as they talk, because keep in mind, if you were arrested for your activities on January 6th, you did likely lose your job. You may have lost all sources of income. You were incarcerated, so maybe you had to spend a fortune to hire a counsel, hire lawyers. You may have lost your wife, your kids, your girlfriend, your whole status. So they did lose a lot. So once they were released, some of them served 1 year, 2, 3 years in prison. When they were released, they had to start all over. So what I want to ask you folks is reparations. What say you? So those are the topics we're going to be talking about tonight. As you know, we don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. We have always been MAGA friendly. We always will be MAGA friendly. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome on the program as well. We go left to Bernie Sanders to I'm having a dinner with Q. So that's how the program is read. So look it in the comments. If anyone violated the law, it's on them, says Michael. Well, I think Trump and many on the right do not believe what happened on January 6th was a violation of the law. They believe it was a peaceful protest, and the Democratic Party simply invoked on a witch hunt trying to incarcerate and punish people that did not deserve it. So Trump has a different opinion of it, has a different opinion than you may believe. So going straight to the box, we'll start it out with D Nice, taking out you suckers. Isn't that a song? Good evening, D Nice.
Hello, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Now,
That's great.
do you favor reparations for the inmates from January 6th or the arrestees?
Well, we got to look at it like this. You know, the last administration, they talked about reparations, and they said they will do a study on it. And it would cost millions of dollars to do a study on it.
Yeah, but you're doing a study on something that happened, well over 100 years ago,
Okay.
and you're talking about thousands of people. I mean, it's going to be a big study.
Wait a minute. Let me finish.
Sure.
Well, you got like the state of California. Now, did the state of California have slavery?
No.
Okay. So they had a study that cost, I think it was like $20-some million that they were going to give about reparations to people who were never slaves in that state, and they were against slavery in that state and never had slaves in that state during the time. Now, I'm not saying that
What were the states going to do that did have slavery? You mentioned in California. We know there were several states that did have slavery. What were they going to do?
Okay, well, again, you go back to the last administration. The studies that they said that they were going to do to see who gets reparations, it cost millions of dollars. What did they do? Did they ever come up with a plan to give reparations to those who were descendants of slaves, or their ancestors were slaves?
Was the study ever carried out?
Well, no. That's what I'm saying, is that they did this study and they say it would cost millions of dollars. Say, we got to put millions of dollars in the study, but reparations was not ever handed out.
But you're saying they had to do a study to determine who received reparations, but you're also saying the study was never conducted.
Well, no, what I'm saying is that there was no final outcome of this alleged study.
How do you know?
If they did a study, the Biden administration and the people in the representatives of each state that did have slavery, most of them southern states, there was no final analysis or final outcome of their study. So there was no reparations. Now, we can go back to World War II.
Okay.
When the atomic bomb was dropped on Japan.
Right. They received reparations.
The Japanese did receive.
Right.
The descendants of them did receive it. Yes.
So,
the descendants of those, yes. But again, if you go back to these states that said they're going to do studies on it for the descendants of slavery and the ancestors that were slaved, there was no outcome to it. There was no finalization to say, okay.
I have not heard this because, and I'm not saying what you're saying is not correct. I just haven't heard it.
It's proof in the pudding. Do you know of anyone who has received reparations?
I haven't heard anybody say this study was actually conducted.
No, that's the thing. It's the same thing that California did. I'm trying to think all the other states that were going to do the studies. The main one was California. California
Was
talked
was
about
any of the actual slave states themselves part of this study? Did any of them participate at all?
Well, you had the Democrat Party that were saying that they were going to conduct studies.
I get it, but what was the Republican Party doing? They know slavery took place as well. I mean, what? Because we're talking about state. Hold on. We're talking about states that had nothing to do with slavery. I'm hearing what you're saying, but I'm asking, what were the states that did have something to do with slavery doing?
Okay, well, who was the party of slavery?
That ain't answering the question we're talking about now, though.
Yes, it is. You can have Democrats that are saying that they're going to do studies of it, but who was the party of slavery?
You're telling me over 100 years, everybody that was in favor of slavery was a Democrat. No Republican for over 100 plus years was involved in this.
Okay, who was the first? What party was the first black person a representative of?
The Republican Party.
Exactly.
So I don't get your point. What are you saying? It sounds like you're saying that since the Democratic Party was the party of slavery, the Republican Party should do nothing?
I'm not saying they shouldn't do
Then
anything.
what were they doing?
But what I'm saying is that the Democrat, you take it like this, sir. If the Democrat Party was the party that was in favor of slavery, so 100 some years ago, now you have it today. The Democrat Party says that they're going to do studies on it. How are you going to do studies on their the party of slavery was the Democrat Party. So how are they going to atone or come up with a plan for reparations? Yes, should Republicans step in? Yes, but you know what? The Democrat Party will not allow that.
Let me speak on something, because I don't know if you're aware, but we just renamed a few military bases back after Confederate last names. Fort Bragg is one of them. You're telling me the Democratic Party was a party of slavery. That's an absolute truth. But the Democratic Party was also the Confederate Party, or they were the Confederate South. You notice how the Republicans are defending the Confederates? They weren't the party of that either. But yet they're all over the place defending statues and stuff like that. But when I ask you what were they doing about slavery, well, that was the Democratic's job. They're picking and choosing when they want to get involved.
I understand what you're saying, but when did Fort Bragg and I can't remember the name of the other military location, the fort, when did that become an issue?
Oh, it's been an issue for a long time. It just wasn't. It was falling.
No.
I mean,
when did it become an issue?
Probably. I mean, for the Confederate flag and statues, that stuff go back to the 60s and 70s. That blacks were against that. We just weren't giving them any credit back then. Only recently have protests against these statues gained some weight, but they've been protesting about that stuff for years.
Okay, so you can protest about the name of a military location or the name of a military site. We'll say Fort Bragg. Okay. So what does that have to do with reparations?
When we started talking about reparations, you mentioned California, and I'm asking you, what did the actual slave states do? You said, well, it's the Democratic Party that was a party of slavery. What I'm saying is the Republican Party has gotten involved in this stuff as well. They just are on the side of the Confederates. Why can't they get involved in the study, is what I'm asking you.
That's what I'm saying. So if a Republican or conservative would get involved in the study of reparations, would the majority within each certain state or cities in a certain state, would they allow a conservative to come and get involved in the study? Because if they get involved in the study, it will show that the Democrat Party was the party that fought for slavery.
I think everybody knows that already, though. Okay,
so when you're talking about reparations,
hold on. I'll let you continue, but let me answer that question you asked. would the Democratic Party let the Republicans get involved if they wanted to look into reparations for slavery? That's a good question. My answer is an emphatic yes, because usually what the Republican Party is saying is that happened a long time ago. We ain't giving nobody shit. So if they actually, I don't care if it was a few pennies or hundreds of thousands of dollars, that is still an incredible upgrade based on what the Republican Party generally says. So my answer is yeah, they would allow that in a heartbeat.
Sir, you got to look at it this way. If a conservative if they would allow conservative voices in it, well, you know what the conservative voices are going to do?
What?
They're going to point out the Democrat Party as being the voice.
Okay.
Being the voice and the vocal and the defense, or defending slavery. So they don't want a conservative voice in it.
That is incredibly untrue. I don't think the black community, anybody with an ounce of anybody with an ounce of a brain or even a little bit of historic knowledge know that the Democratic Party back in that era were the party of slavery. So if the Republicans start talking about reparations and they want to point out that the Democrats were the party of slavery back then, they're using that now. They're saying it anyway.
Sir, it's not about the people. It's the representative of the people.
Trump is in office. I don't care if the Democrats want the Republicans involved in reparations or not. Trump has control of all of the government. The Democrats couldn't stop him if he wanted to do it anyway.
Okay. Once again, sir, these studies that under the Biden administration,
what about under Trump? Biden's gone now. I get you're saying Biden. You're saying Biden didn't do his job. I get that. Trump is in office now. What is he doing?
Why do you want? Well, wait a minute. First, we have to address when this came about. The Biden administration and these certain, political representatives said they were going to do studies on it. The last administration, what came out or about of their studies? Was there a final decision?
We don't know.
Okay, well, why do we not know when they said they were doing
Trump
studies?
has been making it clear that the Biden administration sucked. Okay, maybe they did a piss poor job. Okay, so what do we? Okay, hold on. If they did a piss poor job, what do we do now? Do we just keep hammering them? Maybe they did a terrible job. What do we do now?
Well, what do we do now? Well, first of all, this is my thing. I am nobody. I don't know a lot of these things or that. But first, how they said they were going to do this study to see
we came to that conclusion.
Who were actual descendants of our ancestors as far as when it comes to slavery. The Democrats, some of those within the Democrat Party that said they were going to do these studies to determine who were descendants of slaves, our ancestors, but they never came out.
We've come to that. Let me just say this. Let's take what you're saying as fact. That means the Democrats dropped the ball. Okay, continuing to bring up that they dropped the ball. Okay, the Democrats are no longer in power. What do we do now? Do we just keep talking about them dropping the ball?
Well, no, you don't just continue to. You don't drop.
So what do we do now that the Democrats are not in charge?
But let me ask you this, sir.
You didn't answer that question. That question. What do we do now?
Okay, I'm gonna try to answer this. If the Conservative Party would go and say, we're going to do a study on it. And I'm not saying it shouldn't be done. Yes, for 400 years, over 400 years, our people, and slavery's been in existence since the beginning of time, but we'll just go back to the 1800s, 200 and some years ago, and which, in fact, slavery still exists across the world. But again, we'll go back and we'll say 200 years. So now you got the Conservative or Republican Party that controls all. Do you not think that the Democrats would fight tooth and nail to prevent them from doing a study? And because you know what it would make the Democrats look like?
I'm listening.
It would make them, and it would show the truth of the racism of the Democratic
All
Party.
right, let's go. Let's say all of that is true. The Democrats would fight tooth and nail so that the racism and the negative parts of the Democratic Party would not show up. Okay, so what's stopping the Republicans from doing it? They should want all of that. What's stopping?
Okay, so-
surely you're not trying to get me to believe that the Democrats are choosing not to do something because they're worried about how the Democrats will respond.
Sir, they didn't do it the last administration. What makes you think they're going to try to fight it? Fight for it now.
Why is the Republican Party not doing this? If the Democrats drop the ball, why is the Republican Party not doing it?
Let's take it like this, sir. The Democrat Party is throwing everything kitchen sink and beyond on the current president, Donald Trump. Donald Trump is trying to establish what he wants for America, but he faces obstacles every day, such as immigration of gang members. So if Donald Trump, wait a minute, let me finish. If Donald Trump says, all right, you know what? This is what we're going to do for Black America, on top of what he wants to do for Black America. We're going to go and research and see why the slaves, the ancestors of blacks today, did not receive 40 acres and a mule. So you take the Democrat Party, some, I'm not saying all, some come in and say, whoa, wait a minute. You can't put that face on us because we don't want to look like we were the party of slavery.
And he would care about that?
I'm not saying that. I can't sit here and foretell the future, but what I'm saying...
Yeah, you can. Since when has Trump ever gave a damn about how the Democrats felt when he does anything? I don't even know hold on. With Trump having all control of government, I don't even know why you're bringing up the Democratic pushback. Clearly, the Republicans don't give a damn about how the Democrats feel.
Okay, give your explanation on what you think the Republican Party should do.
If you're claiming a study was done, conduct a study to a conclusion. You're saying the Democrats dropped the ball on it. You're going to need the slave states. Conduct a study to a conclusion, determine which families were harmed. And in my opinion, as opposed to handing out money, I'd say hand out the things you took away. Education, make education free for a while. Property, maybe property taxes are free for a while. Maybe the taxes of opening up a business are free for a while. Those are the things that you took away. I'm not saying just hand somebody some money, but perhaps if you want to open up a business, we won't charge you the necessary business tax that we normally charge folks for 10 years or so. Give back some of the things you took away, like land and education.
Okay. I'm sorry. If you get more to say, I'm sorry. I don't want to...
No, go ahead. I'm going to have to wrap it up, but go ahead.
Education. We'll talk about education. And land. Just like, first of all, in land, that they will, after slavery was, after the end of slavery, that they were promised what? 40 acres and a mule. That never happened. I'm not putting it on either party. Both parties are to blame because there was no follow-up and the promises were never given. So, and if you don't believe, and I'm assuming based on what you said, there were no studies done. Are you saying you don't believe that there were any studies done for reparations.
No, I don't think that America has ever had the time of day to even entertain reparations. So any study would be met with, because you seem to think most of the resistance would come from the Democrats. I'm just the opposite of that. I've heard nothing all my life but Republicans are saying slavery happened hundreds of years ago. It's the Republicans that are vehemently against this. Even to the point of even talking about a study. They're not even trying to do that. So,
okay, so if you bring in a conservative group, or excuse me, the Republicans, who were for the very beginning, I believe they were formed in 1860. In the very beginning, that's the reason why they were formed.
that stuff is, listen, what you're basically doing is speaking as if a party switch never happened. I haven't brought that up, but
when did the party switch happen?
the moment the Republican Party, who spent blood and treasure fighting against the Confederates, decided we want to start defending Confederate statues and monuments, that's a switch. Why would you want to defend the folks that were attacking you?
When did that happen?
It happened during the Civil Rights era when they started working with Martin Luther King.
When who started working with, no. More, why what happened took place is because Lyndon B. Johnson, who was the president, and they had to get a sign-off from the president of the Civil Rights Bill. But majority of those who voted for that bill were Republicans.
Okay.
The minority who voted for that bill, the civil rights for Black Americans, the minority were the Democrat politicians. So there wasn't a party switch. They said, and just like LBJ said, I'll have these, using the N-word, voting Democrat for the next 200 years. And he was absolutely right. And it's sad.
Well, you really think it's sad that they're voting for people that gave them civil rights for the next 200 years? You really think?
No. Lyndon B. Johnson signed off on it. He didn't want to, but he had no choice. The Republican Party fought, as they did in the 1800s, for these rights.
You know something? If you come and save my life, even if you don't want to do it, damn it, you get credit for doing it. Somebody come and tell me, he really didn't want to save you. Fact is, I'd be dead if it wasn't for you.
We're not talking about an individual. We're talking about a population.
I'm talking about something that would not have happened if Lyndon B. Johnson did not do it. You're admitting that.
Why he did it? Because the Republican
Who cares? Who cares? Nobody cares. Nobody cares why you saved me.
So why are you defending a party that was the minority in passing it and not the majority who wanted that?
Because they didn't do it when they were in power.
It wasn't presented until what?
Somebody got to present to you that humans need civil rights.
How long have they been fighting? How long has the Republican Party been fighting?
You just told me nobody had presented to you that these folks needed civil rights. So you wasn't going to do nothing until it got presented to you.
No. I never said that.
That's what you just said. That's what you just
party
said.
has been fighting for the rights, the equal rights for blacks in the United States?
Wait, say that again?
What party has been fighting majority for equal rights for blacks in the United States?
Since when? What year?
Go back to the 1800s.
Well, after the party switch happened, it's been Democrats.
When did the party switch happen?
I just told you.
No, you said the statues.
I told you the party switch happened during the civil rights era. All that Lyndon B. Johnson stuff you're talking about.
Not, sir.
Okay.
You said.
I'm telling you now. I'm telling you right now. That's when it happened.
You're telling me now, and that is still not true.
Okay, you disagree.
They only went and voted Democrat because Lyndon B. Johnson was the president who signed off on a bill, civil rights bill, that majority was voted for by Republicans.
Why didn't the Republicans do it?
And then there were people that had told Lyndon B. Johnson, you have to pass this. So then he goes and says, I will have these N-words voting Democrat. He knew it. He knew that if I sign this bill, I'm going to get that party.
I'm just going to tell you, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing everything
people.
you're saying, and you're trying to convince me somehow that
I'm not trying to convince
you're
you.
trying. What you're saying, what you are saying is the guy gave African American civil rights. He's the president. You're saying, well, the Republicans are the one that. So in other words, Lyndon B. Johnson, the Democratic president, all the party under him voted against it, but somehow the other party, the Republicans, joined with the Democratic president, and that's somehow how blacks got civil rights. That ain't the history I remember. I don't know history. What you're talking about doesn't sound familiar at all. That's like Obama being. It's almost like you're saying. What you're saying is Obama. It would be like Obama giving gay same-sex marriage rights, but all of the people that agree with him were Republicans. That don't make no sense.
It was not majority Republicans that agreed on same-sex marriage.
Well, what you're saying in regards to civil rights, you're telling me a Democratic president signed into law, and all Republicans under him were the ones that were part of it.
I didn't say all. I said majority of Republicans voted for the civil rights bill.
Well, at the end of the
majority was the Democrats that voted for civil rights because they saw us less.
Who was the head of the administration when they got civil rights? Which party was the head of the administration that gave them civil rights?
Let me ask you this:
you didn't answer that. You didn't answer that.
I'm getting ready to. When a bill comes in, where does it go first?
What do you mean when a bill comes in? Congress.
When there's a bill.
Congress.
Presented. Okay. And then it goes where?
Senate.
Right. So after it's passed between those two, the Congress and the Senate, then it goes to the president who signs off on it. So, but you look at the representatives of those who presented the bill.
Nobody's going to. Yeah, I think what you fell in the. First of all, JFK was working with Martin Luther King. He's a Democrat. Now you're admitting that Lyndon B. Johnson also a Democrat, but you're trying to make it sound like people should pay attention to. Nobody does that. Nobody. When you pay attention to what the presidential administration is doing, people don't historically remember what Congress and the Senate is doing. You're telling us to ignore Lyndon B. Johnson and pay attention to the Congress and Senate from that era. Nobody does that.
Sir, did Lyndon B. Johnson create the bill?
Did he sign it into law?
No. Did he create the bill?
Nobody cares who created it.
Why not? Because you're making it a point to say that basically the Republican Party is the racist party.
I'm making it a point to say nobody pays attention historically to bills that were created. Whatever the administration that was headed by the president that signs a bill into law, that's who gets the credit. Nobody goes back in history and look at individual Congress members.
Let me ask you this. Are you okay with Lyndon B. Johnson saying, I will have these using the N-word voting Democrat the next 200 years?
Not only am I okay with him saying it, I agree with him. If I don't have civil rights and you give it to me, yeah, I got to move it on, though, man. I do got to move it on.
You agree with, do you not know that Lyndon B. Johnson was one of the most racist presidents in the United States?
And he signed me and he gave me civil rights. Forgiven.
He did not.
Forgiven.
Have you done research on Lyndon B. Johnson?
I'm listening to I've heard it from you. You just told me he gave us civil rights. Forgiven. Ain't nothing you're going to say.
He did not want to sign it.
I don't give a damn. He did it.
Okay. All righty. So you're still stuck on the Democrat plantation as being the party for black people.
I got to go. Yes, I am. Appreciate you coming on. All right. Good talk. I gave him plenty of time. It was a spirited debate. I know a lot of folks, you're giving them time. Anyway, tap the screen. Listen, I do want to play something. We weren't going to go down that avenue, but I don't think every African American is wrong on how they feel about what happened. And the African American community overwhelmingly disagrees with my last caller, but he has his opinion. You know, in my viewpoint on it is this, like I told him. If I'm in a foxhole and you come and save me, I don't give a damn if you wanted to do it or not. I don't give a damn if you say that it's going to have me owing you favors for 200 years. I don't give a damn if you call me the N-word. I would be dead if you had not came and saved me. That's all I care about. Bringing up all this other stuff what the Congress and the Senate did. Fact is, he didn't have to sign it, and he did. So he gets credit for it. That's trying to make up all this other stuff to defame the guy. It's not going to happen because without the guy, we don't have civil rights.
Luther King was once a pastor. King appeared on Face the Nation in May of 1964 when he was working along with President Johnson to get the Civil Rights Act passed.
Dr. King, in light of recent statements of Senator Barry Goldwater and, in some cases, Richard Nixon, do you think there is a real danger of the Republican Party becoming the white man's party in this country?
I think this is a real danger, and I've talked with some Negro Republicans who are very concerned about this. I see trends and developments which will reveal that unless the liberals of the Republican Party take play a much more decisive role in leadership positions, this will become a white man's party. And I think this...
And to me, that is about as telling of a party switch as you can. Since when have you known liberals to be in the Republican Party? He's on television saying that he's concerned that if the liberals don't speak up, it could become a white man's party. He is literally describing the switch in real time. In our lifetimes, you don't know of you've never heard anybody talking about liberals in the Republican Party. So the fact that he's talking about that, the fact that he's concerned that the Republican Party may be the white man's party, it's been the white man's party all of our lives. So he is literally describing the party switch taking place right there in front of him. So listen, folks ain't gonna want to admit the party switch took place, fair enough, but I think his statement, that's Martin Luther King, I think that's about as clear as you can get. Okay, let me go back to the box. Now, Mike, I saw you in the comments. Good evening, Mike. This is not what we were going to talk about.
Hell no. Tap the screen, share it live. We got to get Tim up to about 50,000 while I'm on here because I want my time. I want my TikTok reparations tonight. Damn it.
It got heated. Listen. I don't know if me
my time to Miss Mo better if I don't get it all, damn it.
I don't know if me and that gentleman had talked before, so I didn't want to listen. We were getting heated, and he just got a little bit extra time out of me. But let's get back on track.
That's cool. That's cool. But what I want to do, I want to shed some light on what he brought up about the reparations, the California reparations study. It was completed. It was a 1,080-page study, Tim.
I'm not aware of this.
I will send it to you. All you got to do is send me your email address. I will send it to you. Okay. But here's the part that they don't talk about. First of all, although California was not was when it entered the Union, it wasn't deemed a slave state. The practices were still being practiced out here from the Southern strategy and from the Southern Union. There was a lot of it going on out here, right? And he wasn't talking about that. Just because you're not enslaved, just because slavery's not here, didn't mean that there weren't segregated communities.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's the part that he.
Is there anywhere in the United States that didn't happen?
Well, that's the whole point. That's the whole point about what he's talking about. He's talking. Listen, when people talk about slavery, they go, "Well, you were free, so what's the problem?" Just because our people were free doesn't mean that it was just enslavement's over, so everything's fine.
No.
They don't talk about the racial terror. They don't talk about the political disenfranchisement, housing segregation, all these other things that happen, separate and unequal education. All those things happened. Yeah. They continue to happen. So when you talk about reparations, it's not just about the time that slavery was active. It's all the things that happened after that go along with that. So I'll leave it there because he didn't know what he was talking about. And he's trying to make the story because you asked a question about the J6ers and do they deserve reparations?
Let's get into that. And that's the whole topic of the show is that Trump is talking about giving the J6 hostages, as he calls it, reparations. That was what we were talking about. He went over to. I was not trying to have this, have an American, an African American civics class, but he took reparations into the black community. It was never supposed to be about that.
Right. And so we talk about the J6s. Hell no, they don't deserve reparations, and we know they don't deserve reparations. And the thought that anybody thinks they deserve something for their quote unquote troubles, it tells you the foundation of this movement is rooted in racism. Like literally, Tim, they went to prison for doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And somehow they're supposed to get rewarded for doing what again?
Well, according to Trump, they went to prison for trying to protect this country and being patriots.
Okay, but that's the bullshit. So let's not even address that, right? And listen, you know and I know that that's not what happened. So it's all bullshit, right? Full stop. And we have to stop making it a thing. It's not a thing. They shouldn't get anything. And then the funny part is, I thought just a suggestion is wasteful spending. Just a suggestion on face value is wasteful spending. Like, what are we truly talking about here?
Well, I mean, Trump believes in loyalty. You look out for him, he'll look out for you. His goal is to look out for his people. Those folks put their lives on the line, put their careers, everything, their financial well-being, all of that on the line for him on January 6th. And he probably feels like he owes them.
Well, reparations would mean that they were disenfranchised somehow. That they're getting something, right? They're getting something because somehow that they were treated differently or not differently. Differently is actually not even strong enough.
Well, somehow he believes they went to jail and they should not have went to jail. That's what he believes. He believes they were wrongfully locked up. And I see you in Real Talk, you said, "Sir, get the spin machine." Yeah, he believes that they were wrongfully locked up.
Right. Well, and we know that's not true. We know that, here's the thing that we do know. We do know that conviction rates in this country for people that were wrongfully imprisoned, we know that the majority of those people are not white folks that were part of an insurrection. And just the numbers, period, don't support anything along those lines. But he also said he wanted to give them reparations for being discriminated against when it came to HBCU schools. So we all know it's all bullshit, Tim.
Wait, he's saying the January 6th folks were discriminated against for is that what did he really say that?
No, these are two separate things. These are two separate things that he said. He's also said that he was looking for reparations for white people that were discriminated against at historically black colleges. You didn't hear that?
No, I didn't.
He said that too.
It almost sounds like that's some stuff that somebody who was deliberately trying to piss off the black community would say something like that.
He's trying to take the wealth and give it back to them and strip our communities and our existence out of the books and out of any sense of generational wealth or financial freedom or just all of that stuff. I mean, listen, I'm not surprised. The fact that D Nice, and that's not the original D Nice, by the way.
No, it's not.
It's
right?
Not. He's not taking out no suckers, and he doesn't.
Right? No, that ain't D Nice. That's what I thought. When he started talking like that, no, that ain't D Nice. They don't call you.
No,
D-Nice.
That's not that D Nice.
No.
No. So at the end of the day, Tim, we know what it is. We know where they're going with this stuff. We know what their end goal is, and they're not hiding it anymore. And it's been clear in the executive orders. It's been clear in their rhetoric. It's about white Christian nationalism and white supremacy, and you just can't deny it anymore. You can't even put your MAGA hat on and MAGA explain that away right now.
I gotta ask you though, since you mentioned the MAGA hat, I gotta ask you, how do you explain Black MAGA? Black MAGA is still on the Trump train. If what you're saying is true and MAGA is all about white supremacy, why is Black MAGA still there?
Because you can have a bushel of apples and some of them will be rotten.
Damn.
Well, listen, black men, first of all, we're talking about primarily black men and Hispanic men, and they're homophobic. That's why they threw all the transgender homophobia in their face, and they took a hook, line, and sinker. But Steve Bannon said that back in 2017.
I don't know if Hispanics are there still. Black MAGA is still there, but I haven't seen any Hispanics online still promoting Trump. It's black MAGA still there, but the Hispanics, I think they pretty much gone.
Yeah, well, they're not trying to be online. Ain't nobody trying to be seen right now. If you got that brown hue like them, they snatching them up out of here.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, Tim. Here's the thing. Steve Bannon said this. I think it was in 2017. Their job was to peel away the black and brown male vote, disenfranchise them, make them feel like they're still on the Democratic plantation. The funny part is that's just what D. Nice said. Steve Bannon's been saying it for years. Steve Miller's been saying it for years. They bought into the propaganda. They keep saying it over and over again. And unfortunately, listen, sometimes when you walk, you step in shit. That's what happens, you know? And when you talk about black MAGA, which I have no respect for, and period, point blank.
Really? You don't think there's any reason why black men would want to vote for Trump?
Never.
The economy?
Nope.
Illegal immigrants on their streets taking resources that they could be using?
Nope. All of it was bullshit. Nope.
No, I don't know about that. I tell you, a lot of folks in some of these urban areas, because of Tom Homan, the borders are getting these folks out of here. A lot of black MAGA are happy that immigrants aren't laying all over the streets in their cities. I mean, it is happening.
Oh, because they're fools. Because here's the thing: you give them this thing that they think is good for them, right? Oh, well, they're not on the streets as they're turning around over there in the office, taking away your rights. So yeah. Those immigrants aren't on the street.
Yeah, but I'm going to have to push back and ask, what rights have blacks lost under Trump?
I said that while they're trying to take away your rights.
Give me an example of a right they're trying to take away.
Tell me which one they're not. That's the shorter list. It's too many.
I don't hear blacks losing their Second Amendment right.
Because you can't just take it away for us. See, that's the part where you're wrong. Because the Second Amendment isn't for us. The last time there was a change to any pew laws in this country of significance was back in California when the Black Panthers were here. When they were showing up at the Capitol with assault pews, they changed the laws. Did they or did they not?
That happened, but that's been obviously a long time ago.
And since then, what is the largest demographics of defending the Second Amendment?
It's usually white people defend the Second Amendment.
You're damn right.
But that's because oftentimes it's black people that want to take the Second Amendment away in cities where there's a lot of shootings. The white people are the ones like, we ain't shooting nobody. Why would we lose our gun rights?
But it's not taking it away. People have been talking about making amendments to 2A for different reasons, assault pews and things of that nature.
Yeah, but the notion is any that's why we have shall not be infringed. Any gun law, no matter what it is, no matter how small it is a stepping stone towards total gun confiscation. That's the belief.
That's the belief. But again, that's what they're selling. But let's get back to what you asked me. All these executive orders that he is trying to, or that he's implemented, and I got a list of them. I can't find any that do not infringe on marginalized people or communities. I can't.
Give me three that you believe that three executive orders from Trump that are infringing on marginalized people. You're talking about minorities, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Give me three. Give me three.
Dismantling the Board of Education. Rolling back the Civil Rights Acts from 1968 or whatever. Let's go to the Aliens Act. Let's think about the Aliens Act, the 1787. Mm-hmm. Considering the gang, or when they start deeming groups as terrorist organizations, they're doing that so they can do what they want to do with those groups, for lack of a better term, as I'm saying that.
Yeah, but if you are a marginalized person that is in America as a citizen of this country, you're not going to be victimized by that stuff at all. I mean, they can't deport you.
Say that to the people. Say that to the people sitting in prisons in Venezuela that had no criminal record, Tim.
But they're not citizens.
Tell them that.
They're not citizens of America.
Did they get due process? No, under the Constitution and the laws?
No, they didn't get due process. They didn't get due process, and there are people in that prison that don't belong there, but I don't think any of them are a citizen of the U.S.
were their rights violated?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what I'm saying, and I know you know this, and I get it. You know I get it. Everything they're doing, you can call it what you want to call it, right? If I wanted to slap you in the face, but I told you I wanted to assist your nose reconstruction, I can make it sound nice. But my ultimate goal is to smash your face in, and that's what they're doing, playing in our face, Tim. That's what it is. You know it, I know it, and everybody.
I'm not going to play spin meister. I mean, the Trump administration is anti-immigrant. I don't, legal too. I don't think that's up for debate because they've done a lot of things that's made life harder for legal immigrants, folks with green cards and things like. So they are anti-immigrant. But the point I'm making is if you are from a marginalized community and you are a citizen of the United States, you haven't given me anything that Trump is trying to take away from citizens of this country.
Civil rights. He's not trying to. He's not trying to change. He's not trying to change voting rights. He's not trying to do anything. It's just all these executive orders are for the betterment of everybody. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, in regards to voting rights, both sides play gerrymandering games and things like that. Under Trump, he wants to have everybody have an ID, which I don't think is a bad idea. The liberals are going to want to relax the rules. Both sides try to play games.
I'm not letting you get away with that both sides shit, Tim, because here's the thing. You can't tell me, I'm going to use this as a perfect example, right? You have a neighbor next to you?
Yeah.
So if a neighbor next to you moves some of his say right on your yard, he moves some of his shit onto your yard, and you go move it back. Are you playing a game with him?
No.
You're just pushing him back where he should be, right?
Okay, right.
That's not a game. That's not both. So if somebody said both of you guys need to cut it out.
No, but it's more, Mike. It's more than that. For instance,
I know, Tim. Listen to me. I do understand that it's more than that. But what I'm saying to you, when we keep talking to both sides, because somebody's reacting to their action.
But they're not reacting, Mike.
They're not?
No, because a lot of people in this country, even on the left, do not see any issue with requiring a voter to have an ID. So the liberals are trying to make it so that you can vote with an ID in as many places as possible. So that ain't pushing back. That's something the liberals want. And many folks disagree with that.
But why do they want that, Tim?
Why would you want somebody to vote without an ID? Other than the possible fraud? I don't know.
No. So why is the right pushing for it so hard?
Well, the right does realize they do better when turnout is low. So they do not mind putting hurdles to make voting. Like Trump is talking about making you prove you're a citizen. Or signature match. They do like to put hurdles there to make you have to go through a few extra hurdles to vote because lower turnout helps them out.
And where are they doing? And where do you think that what they want to implement? Who's it going to impact the most, Tim? Come on, Tim. Don't look over there. The answer ain't over there. The answer's not over there. You know exactly what they're doing. You know why?
What's the problem with having the damn ID? That shouldn't impact nobody.
But it does, Tim. And it's not just the ID. Some people are disabled. Oh, here's what I mean by that. Because they were trying to say first they want everybody to vote in person. They don't want you to mail anything in.
That's a hurdle. Yes, that's a hurdle.
That's a hurdle. But see, what they also do is they limit the polling stations in certain districts.
That's a hurdle.
You know all of this shit,
That's a hurdle. Yeah, that's a hurdle.
So listen, when we talk about the rules, we have to understand why people are trying to make these rules, and it's historically is to disenfranchise marginalized communities, Tim. Period. We're not even listen. I know you got your other platforms. I get it, but you know better than that. You know that that's what they're doing.
No, I admit the Republican Party, like I said, they do better with lower turnout. So they're going to do everything they can to reduce the turnout to make it, because they know the harder you make it to vote, the more people will be like, fuck it, I'm not standing in line for 8 hours, or as you said, I'm not gonna go and drive all the way down there when I used to be able to mail it in. They're trying to get the fucking crowd to increase. And you are correct in suggesting that it's gonna hit marginalized communities more because those are areas that are highly congested. In other words, there's a lot of people in a small area. So if you put those hurdles in place for them, the lines are going to be longer. I mean, so yeah, I get what you said. I'm not disagreeing with it, but
so how does the left respond to that? What is their response? They're trying to prevent them from doing it. Are they playing a game? Are both sides doing it when they're saying, no, we're not going to have that? How they outlawed bringing somebody water in line. You can't. I mean, all these things to disenfranchise voters. What am I supposed to do?
I don't think opening up to rules where a person can vote without an ID is a solution.
Well, I don't. Again, if you're a registered voter, if I'm registered already, like I get my ballot in the mail, what else should I have to do?
When you show up to vote, handing somebody a driver's license or a state ID, is that really that hard?
Have we ever seen, if it was a problem, I would agree with you, but have we seen widespread fraud in U.S. elections? When's the last time we've seen widespread fraud, Tim?
It's been a while. I get the claims of widespread fraud are often made up because we know what happened in 2020 when Trump was claiming it. Most of his claims have been proven not to be true. But look, I don't see a problem with ID. You know, if you want to shut the right up, that's an easy one. I mean, if you're a full-grown adult, I don't see any excuse for why you don't have an ID. If you really want to do your civic duty and vote, the elections are 2 years apart. You can't get a state ID or a driver's license.
No, I'm not pushing away from the idea. I am pushing away from the source of the idea.
Okay.
That's my point.
Yeah, I get it. The Republican Party do not have good intentions. They're not just trying to make sure the election is free and fair. You're right. They are trying to make it so people step out of the line. They're trying to increase the fuck it, I won't vote numbers. I get that. You know what I got to do, but I do agree with that. That part I agree with.
I'll yield the rest of my time to Miss Lobetta.
All right, Mike. Thanks for coming through.
All right, bro.
Appreciate it.
All right, later.
All right, tap the screen, folks. Get the likes on up to about 30,000. I want to respond to a couple of super chats that I know I did miss, and I appreciate you folks that are tuning in this Friday. Will G says, I told you before, Tim, the Second Amendment was made for white people to squash slave revolts. That's true, but I'm saying in 2025, that's not what's happening. It was never really meant for people of color, just like the Bill of Rights for a time, white people noticed. That's true. All that's true. The Constitution was never meant for people of color. I'm agreeing with all of that. But people of color fought and died and finally are included in that. So I don't know if saying the Second Amendment is not made for black people in 2025 has the same weight as saying it maybe in 1925. Because I'm packing. Trump with car tariffs will make all car prices skyrocket. Yeah, right now, I think, what is it, on Monday? He's imposed tariffs that if your car is not made in America, there's a 25% tariff on it. He's trying to promote cars to be made here. So yeah, car prices are going to skyrocket. I don't know. Is there any car at all? Even the ones that are made here, do they have all 100% American parts, tires, all of that, the processors in them, because every car has a computer. A car that's 100% made in America, I don't think that exists. I don't know what Trump is even trying to achieve there. We'll see. By the time we get to a place where we're in position to make all cars in America, the entire car, Trump's 4 years will be over with. It takes time to put all that shit in place. I don't know. I don't know what he's trying to achieve, but you said that also means trucks and truck parts will skyrocket too. My company is already cranking out the guidelines of staying out weeks for money. He worked for a trucking company. He's talking about you got to stay out on the road for quite a while. Yeah, I don't see how that's not going to cause a major problem. I'm watching ABC News Tonight with David Muir, and they were saying that once Trump's tariffs hit, they're expecting the average price of a car to go up between $6,000 and $10,000. That's a lot. Think about it, 25%. So if you buy a car that costs $40,000, 10% of $40,000, that's a lot. 10,000. That's a lot. So we'll see what happens. But I tell you one thing: if you got a nice late model used car, it'll probably increase in value quite a bit. It'll add a lot of equity to the car you already got. In the comments real quick, Will G says, Trump ain't shit. We know Trump is trying to bring black people out to declare martial law and shoot like it's open season. Damn, Will. Now, he's not the first person I've heard suggest that Trump is trying to rile everybody up and create such chaos that he gets additional powers via martial law. But Will is saying that once he does that, then they'll start shooting protesters. Jesus Christ. Is Trump that bad? I know the whole incident of walking across the street to hold the Bible upside down, and people were tear gassed, but shoot protesters. Damn. Black MAGA, where the hell are you? I got to get some more Black MAGA on the program. I told you before, okay, I saw that. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. I don't think I did before. Moving on with the program. Wow, that's crazy. Cause a ruckus, invoke martial law, and anybody in the streets that violates it, shoot them. I hope that's wrong. I hope that doesn't happen. Maxwell Smart says, black man for Trump. Trump is doing miracle work. Now, Maxwell, you are an African American that supports Trump, and your belief is that he's doing miracle work. Now, you're not the only person I've heard suggest that Trump is doing a lot of good things for America. My pushback on it is this, and I'm not saying that Trump may or may not be doing good things for America. Elon Musk, with all of the money he's claiming he saved American taxpayers, could turn out to be something great. But I say it on every show. I need to see evidence. I'm not going to, when you say Trump is doing, miracle work for America, most of that is based on you just trusting what you're hearing. As a U.S. citizen, you haven't seen proof that he's doing all of this stuff. I'm not saying he's not, but I'm saying you don't have evidence that he is either. Just like everybody is favoring getting rid of all these gang members in America and sending them down to El Salvador. Once again, you're just trusting that the administration knows what a gang member is. None of these people had any say-so in court. So I'm more on the fence of they might be doing something great, but I need to see proof. And when it comes to the migrants that have been sent to El Salvador, you ain't seen proof of shit. It's just they told you and you believe it. It's the same thing when it comes to Elon Musk. He told you he was saving money and you believe it. I want to get to the part where as a U.S. citizen, I can say all the money you saved is now, I can see where it's doing this or this or this for me. Right now, I'm just hearing about you saving billions of dollars. I still got to go to work in the morning. I still got to pay to put gas in my car. I still got to buy groceries. I'm not hearing how it translates to anything that benefits me. So it's not a miracle. I mean, you ain't right. I'm not living any better under Trump than I was 3 or 4 months ago under Biden. So where's the fuck the miracle at? Going back to the box, and yeah, tap the screen. Get us on up. Get a good minute of tapping, maybe 50,000. I'm going to ask for the moon. I want my viewers to do some miracle work. If you're watching on Instagram, you're watching on YouTube or TikTok, tap the screen, smash that like button. Maxwell Smart says getting rid of illegals is giving jobs back to the people. Bringing Hyundai plants equals more work for citizens. Biden did nothing for you. Well, Maxwell, in regards to Biden doing nothing for us, there are things you could break down about the Biden administration, but looking in regards to what you're saying about getting rid of illegals is giving jobs back to the people. No, it ain't. No, it ain't. You name some jobs that illegal immigrants are doing that you're eager to get your hands on. That is not something to brag about. Okay, you got rid of the illegals, so now those jobs can be filled by Americans. What were they doing? You want to stand out? You want to stand in front of Home Depot and do riffs all day? I don't see how that's a great job. You want to pick fruit? Damn sure don't want to go back to picking cotton. What were they doing? They were doing. You said that getting rid of illegals is giving jobs back to us people. What were they doing that Americans were, damn, I can't wait to get rid of them so I can do that. You want to pick apples? You want to change these nut-soaked sheets at the Alitas Hotel? You want any of that shit? I don't want. You want to go cut up chickens for Tyson Foods? Tell me what jobs they're doing that Americans are eager to get their hands on. Now, in regards to you saying bringing back Hyundai plants equals more work for citizens, that could turn into something. but it hasn't yet. So as I stated to you, until it translates into actual jobs and revenue, it's not miracle work yet. He might be on a path to something miraculous, but you're giving him credit before any of this stuff has happened yet. That's the point I'm making. Continuing on though, but the jobs thing is kind of funny. I don't appreciate that alter ego. Yeah, thank you for the hat and mustache. Will says, you know, the right is always playing semantics. Voter ID for all now, but they will move the goalposts. And then they will say only certain people receive it. I can see that. Okay, I'll concede that. But I do believe you should have an ID. Now, if they try to move the goalposts and then say some kind of special ID is required, or they try to make it harder to get the voter ID, well, all of a sudden now you got to go get a birth certificate or you got to get a passport to get the ID. It start putting steps in, yeah, then you're right. And I do believe there could be some of that happen, and I'm not going to disagree with that. GOP governors will also have the power to revoke IDs. But going back to the box, one of the ones I have an issue with is signature match. The Republicans were trying to use signature match in regards to voting. My driver's license, the fact I got to renew my driver's license this year, 7 years ago, that's when I got that driver's license, 7 years ago. So 7 years, as Lincoln would say. My signature don't look like it did on that driver's license 7 years ago. It absolutely does not. So if I go and vote and I sign a ballot and they want me to pull out my license and they try to match the signature on that, that ain't telling you shit. That signature match should not be part of voting at all. We're in 2025. Why the hell are you still using signatures? This is where I do agree with my last caller and many on the left suggesting that the right do try to make it harder to vote, because you can buy a house without even leaving your home. You could actually close on a home. Why do you have to go physically to a place to vote? You can transfer millions of dollars without ever going to the bank. You're going to tell me I can do all of this shit, but you don't trust me to cast a ballot? There is no legitimate reason why you should have to go down to a polling place and do it the old-fashioned way in 2025. The technology is way too great for that. Facial recognition, there's fingerprint scanners. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do that remotely. So I do believe that there is a concerted effort to make it harder to vote. Maxwell says, I'm a painter and I make more than college graduates. Illegal flooring companies are making millions a year, paid a carpenter $25,000 a week for. But here's the problem though. Okay, you say I'm a painter and I make more than college students. When you got an administration that's anti-union, you're not going to make that kind of money for as long. You think they're going to get rid of immigrants that are doing this shit for a fraction of the cost and replace them with you, and you're making, as you say, more than college graduates? The next step is going to be to make you earn what they were earning. They're not going to get rid of some guy that's making $20,000 a year and replace him with you making $70,000 or $80,000 a year and let that stand. The next step is going to be to find ways to pay you less. I mean, that's just, look at what Trump just did. Just removed the bargaining powers from the federal government. So now their union is fading away. You think that's not going to translate into lower salaries and lower benefits and pathetic retirement packages? So that's what's going to happen. Illegal flooring companies are making millions a year. I paid a carpenter $25,000 a week for 3 workers. Like I said, the next step would be to cut how much you're earning. Trump is turning into Uncle Ruckus. Speak on it, man. How is Trump? Thank you for the super chat there, Major and Blue. How is Trump doing? Let me go back to the box. Miss Mo Better. Good evening. I paid a carpenter that's illegal $25,000 per week for 3 co-workers. Are you not reading? Wait, hold on a second, Mr. Mo Better. You said you paid a carpenter, you paid an illegal immigrant $25,000 per week for 3 co-workers. So that's 5,000. What is it? 25,000 divided by 3. That's over 8,000. That doesn't. It sounded to me like.
And whoever that is lying his ass.
Yeah, that seems a bit odd. He said I paid a carpenter.
You can't just be spewing anything. Like, yeah, you can't pee in our ear and tell us it's raining. Yeah. No, this don't happen.
Yeah, it sounded to me like whoever was overseeing those 3 carpenters that you got was keeping a whole bunch of money. That That sounds extremely high.
Yeah, that just no. They trying to say that. You know why people say stuff like that? Because they try to justify that with first of all, Trump saying that they were taking black jobs.
Yeah.
And then that we're going to go out there and replace the jobs that they were doing. That is all a crock of shit.
Yeah. The thing I'm looking at is like what my viewer was talking about, they getting rid of them frees up jobs. Most immigrants do jobs that Americans are not interested in doing, in my opinion.
No, and they know it. And back to that video you were showing with her down at the jail with those people with their shirts on. It's all for photo ops to say, oh, see, this is what we did. We got rid of all.
But doesn't it make them
y'all got locked up?
Don't it make them look like don't it make them look like fucking animals though?
Come on, man. And they probably feel like animals in these cages, all stuffed in all these cages and stuff. They probably feel like animals right now. So what's happening is they're turning them into these people that they already said that they were, because it does something to the psyche.
Why do you think? Now, we got plenty of Americans in this country, most likely MAGA, they link to the right, but why are there so many Americans that are okay with this?
Because again, they bought into the notion that they were the enemy of this country. Oh, they're here. Oh, my taxes are high and all of that stuff. They thought all of that was happening because the illegals were here. But Trump does that so he can continue to do what he's doing on his side. I'm going to sell them the illusion because he's a Pied Piper. I told you that. He can blow his whistle and they buy right into his shit. That's what they did.
But let's tackle what a lot of folks do believe is that these individuals are not only animals on screen here, but they are the Lincoln Rileys. They're actually going around harming Americans. How do you respond to that?
Did they not just arrest a white American judge for essaying a child?
Yeah.
Did that not just happen?
Yeah.
Like, listen, that's not to say that none of them were criminals, because you have criminals in all race, creeds, and colors. But they were inflating every number that came out of their mouth was inflated, just so they can push their narrative and they can push their point. Because again, you go back and check the statistics, the biggest and the most crime that was happening here that was globally known was committed by white American men.
But is Trump not doing the right thing? I mean, if you're here illegally, is there anything wrong about him saying that you need to be gone? I mean, you didn't come here.
I get it. No, I understand all of that part, but it ain't what you do, it's how you do things, Tim. He went about it. He went in there like he's some type of mob boss. Like, I don't care if you have citizenship. You're gonna get out of here and we'll work out the details later. That's not how things work. That's why he has so many lawsuits against him right now too.
But what about the notion that Biden fucked things up so bad that they didn't have no choice but to come in there gangbusters because Biden left so much work to do?
No, because it wasn't that bad. Was it a lot? Yes. Was it that bad? No. Because again, they're coming over here and how are they staying here? Who was hiring them? You're not going after the people that were hiring them.
That's one of my points.
That were housing them. Because the people that were living in these shelters was probably 1% of the people that were actually here. Yeah. So they have a reason to stay here, because these people that don't want to pay unemployment tax, don't want to pay Medicaid, don't want to give health insurance and stuff like that. They're the ones they're the real problem.
You
want to keep that money to myself.
You raise a good point, and that is because Trump is probably more gung-ho about securing the border than any president Obama was pretty good too, but he just wasn't he wasn't vocal about it. But one thing I will say that, because Trump is probably the most outspoken person we've had in our lifetime in regards to securing the border. But the problem is, as you pointed out, they never say anything about going after the Americans that literally are co-conspirators in the problem. If you're here illegally and somebody's hiring you under the table, they are a conspirator in the illegal immigration problem. And you don't hear...
Trump himself was one of those. He was one of those. And he flat out said, I didn't like paying people.
Wait. And you're saying Trump actually copped out to hiring illegal immigrants?
they're hiring illegal immigrants. They did a whole panel of the illegals that was working for him down in Florida. Yes, they did. It was a whole panel of them. And there were people, here in New York, they have a liaison that, illegal or not, they can file a lawsuit against the person who wasn't paying them. That's going on right now out in Southampton.
Oh, I didn't know Trump had that. I mean, I knew there was rumors of that, but I didn't know he had copped out and admitted he was hiring illegal immigrants.
He's like, I didn't like paying people. I seen him say it. He said it on one of those one of his rallies he was holding. Like, come on, he does things blatantly. He does it in people's face because he in his mind he's above the law because he's the president of the country.
Well, that he is. He does. Yeah. You got to admit he does appear to be above the law. I think we can.
He does because of cronyism. You talk about DEI, cronyism is the problem. DEI was never an issue. Yeah. So why attack that? You know what I'm saying? So that's the protection. Even though it's nothing specific at black people, it had to include other people in there because that's how it was written. But if it could have been just for black people, it would have been. Mm. So now you see how they want to go so hard on Jasmine Crockett.
And that's what I want to ask you about. Speaking, I got a sister on here. You're talking about black people. How do you think the Democrats? I mean, she made fun of a disabled governor. She called Texas Governor Greg Abbott Hot Wheels. Do you believe the Democrats should issue an apology, or she should apologize herself for doing that?
Absolutely not. Stand on your word. You said it. But that's not. That might have been the first time they heard somebody in Congress say it, but they said they've been calling him Hot Wheels for years. They've been calling him that for years. That you can go look it up. They said that's not the first time somebody has called him that. That's why you say, she's right from Texas, so she know who he is. They've been calling that man that. But again, what's the difference in her doing it and Trump doing it? Because he did the same exact thing. Not just one time. He did it multiple times with multiple different entities.
Well, they're claiming that she also has called them Hot Wheels before too, though.
Yeah, they all call him that down there. That's his nickname, apparently.
So what happened to when they go low, we go high?
I told you when you can't show up to a gunfight with a knife. Ooh. When you messing with certain people, I'm gonna meet you where you at. And they really just don't like her because number one, she's a woman. Number two, she's black. Number three, she's intelligent. Number four, she comes with receipts. Mm. When she speaks to these people, she has everything she's talking about right in front of her. Yeah. But so now they want to call her ghetto. But they got Alice the Goon up there, aka the lot lizard Marjorie Taylor Greene, and they don't say shit about her DEI ass.
Lot lizard. Oh my God. Lot
her
lizard.
Ass was a contestant on America's Got Talent with that whatever. She was up there trying to sing her way into shit, and it didn't work.
She went really?
Yes, they got a whole video of her. She went under a whole different name, Summer something.
Really? I'm curious to see that one. Marjorie Taylor, yes. Oh my God. The crazy thing is, I will agree with you that it is going to be very difficult to try to hold Jasmine Crockett accountable for her comment when you're ignoring Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, because she's done a lot. I mean, running through the halls of Congress with the white balloon.
She told the reporter the other day, what country are you from? Go back to your country.
Yeah, that was insane. I did see that. Yeah, I saw that too.
At all. She has no manners. She only got that position because she knows a lot of shit on Trump. Because she was mad at that other lady that was I'm at a blank for names. But anyway, remember she wanted to be Trump's right hand man when he was campaigning and all that stuff. But he chose that other lady. See, I don't really know their names.
I'm trying to think. You talking about what is her? I know the blonde lady.
But she was a little younger, she looked better than Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene was about to throw a whole hissy fit. She was going at the Republican Party. Then they had to find somewhere to put it because then you already know when your friend becomes your foe, all your secrets the world to know. So we said we're gonna have to put her in some kind of place to shut this Alice Lagoon looking bitch up.
Well, apparently she's in a pretty deep red district, so she's going to be around for a while.
Of course. And until things switch it with these seats and stuff, they're gonna be there. We're gonna hear her voice, unfortunately.
Well, last before I let you go, what do you think about Trump indicating that he might consider reparations for the January 6th hostages?
I don't know if you remember our conversation, Tim. This might have been a little bit of last year or whatever. He wants to start civil unrest. He wants to start a civil war. And he knows that.
What would he gain by?
That will bring Black and indigenous people out, because, like you said, they've done studies on reparations for Black people or descendants of enslaved people and stuff like that, and it's nowhere in the talks. But now you want to talk about compensating and reparating criminals?
So you believe that Trump is intentionally trying to basically destroy the country?
He's trying to tear it down. He's trying to tear it down. Like I say, you have to know what people's motives are. And it's tough to know the motives, because people, they mask themselves well. They know how to cover things up. And then when you got people in your pocket in high places, it's easy to do. And that's how Trump is running this country right now. So with him giving a complete immunity, you know what I'm saying? You get people out here in these streets protesting and all that stuff. What you think they're going to come out there doing? Number one is they're going to issue the martial law first. You're going to have your ass, every town, every state in here going to have a
But the problem is you would, I mean, the commerce, everything. I mean, you shut down the country like that. It's going to hurt everybody if you have martial law.
It's going to hurt a lot of people, but you can tell now they don't care. They voted him in. They don't care, apparently, that you're going to suffer right along with everybody else, because that's what's happening. Everybody is feeling the effects, and that's what I'm saying. Y'all so big on immigration and deporting all these illegals. How much has that saved you in taxes? Nothing.
None yet, but he's only been in office for 2 months, though, Mr. Mobetta. In the comments, real quick, go ahead.
And we're already exhausted.
That's what, flood the zone is what Steve Bannon said. Papa Naya Shelley said Jasmine's character is racist as fuck. The woman is educated, but the Democrats put her out here as a hood rat. Says I'm insulted.
They just mad because they can't take it when somebody pull a them on them.
Ooh.
Y'all started this shit. Ooh. Y'all call her ghetto all you want to. She can still continue to provide receipts. Let me tell you something. With this little bit of shit that she talking around, ain't got shit on the shit that Black people have suffered at the hands of white people in this country. So you can scratch and sniff with that one. Find something else to talk about. And don't get me started on Blagger. They need to go. Matter of fact, sitting their asses in the field.
Blagger is Black MAGA, if I'm correct,
yeah,
right?
Yes. Y'all go to get those jobs that they were taking from y'all, that they sit the immigrants from doing.
I have not seen any buyer's remorse from Black MAGA yet. They seem to be pleased.
Of course they do, because again, they thinking, oh, I'm richer now. They thinking I'm richer now.
I want to be richer, but until listen, if Elon Musk is gonna make me richer, I want to be richer. I'll give him his credit, but I need to see the money. I'm not gonna start jumping up and down.
See, it's been quiet with him lately. Normally you hear about him a little bit more. This last week, it's been really quiet with him. You haven't really seen him as much.
Well, because of J.D. Vance is in the news now with this whole Greenland thing. So
you know why J.D. Vance is in the news? Because Trump is not allowed to go to certain countries because he's a felon. So you got to check to see where part of the country he's going in, and a lot of them don't accept felons in their countries. So that's why you're seeing J.D. Vance.
What are you saying, that if Trump wanted to go to the UK or Germany somewhere, they wouldn't let him come?
They wouldn't let him come. I think it's like 37 countries or something that he's not allowed to go in. I'm not exactly sure which countries they are, but there's countries that he's not allowed to go to because he's a felon.
I have not heard that. Wow.
Yeah, look it up, Tim.
All right. Mm-hmm. All right, I got to move it on, but that's news to me. Wow.
Yeah, he's a felon. They can't travel to certain countries. Not all countries accept felons.
Damn, President of the United States. All right.
That's why everything is a phone call. Let me see if I can get this phone call going. You know what I'm saying? Because he got to sit your ass on that golf course and with your ankle monitor on.
That's crazy shit. Mr. Mobeto?
That's wild. It's wild because he's even in that position. You know what I'm saying? But shout out to Mike for giving me his time.
We're living through historic times ourselves. That's what we're living.
Yeah,
we're
definitely
living through.
Historic.
We'll always remember these days of the Trump administration. The second administration is more memorable. Look like the second administration is going to be more memorable than the first.
Nope.
So,
Steve, one thing he said, Trump is the best thing for Tim's show. Keep it real.
Shit, Trump is the best. Trump is the best thing for anybody that's involved in political commentary.
He gives people a lot to talk about because first of all, he's loud. He likes the limelight, whether it's positive or negative. He doesn't care as long as he sees his name somewhere, and he lies so much till he gives you context to go in there and research. Like, damn, he got me researching again.
Yeah, I cannot argue with him. I mean, Trump is if you're involved in politics, the study of it, commentary, talking head, podcast, you name it. Trump is probably giving more content than anybody you could ever dream of. Thank you.
Oh my! I'm gonna listen. It's gonna take us a lot to get over his ass. I'm telling you, but. May never.
Appreciate it.
All right, Phil.
All right. And listen, he depends on what the outcome is. Trump may be something we never get over. We'll see. Because there's so much legislation and executive orders. A lot of relationships we have worldwide are being scarred. Some would say permanently scarred. So yeah, in our lifetime, the remnants of Trump might be something we never get over. But I did want to play this clip because this is what my last caller was talking about. This is my first time watching this. I have not seen this either, so this is my first time seeing this.
I'm from Altamont, California.
That is Marjorie Taylor Greene, by the way, that blonde there in the middle. This is apparently her on American Idol as Miss Sugarman.
My biggest worry right now is telling my work how I'm doing this Monday. Calling sick. Because they didn't say come to Hollywood. Well, that means
I want to hear them judge her, and we'll move on. Shit about Willie Brown and the Democrats couldn't find this bullshit. Why wouldn't the Democratic Party playing this stuff? I mean, like, really, this woman is like ridiculing Democrats right and left. Why ain't this everywhere? Anyway, let me get back to the program. I had never seen that before. Wow. And I see in the comments, was that Papa Nia Shelley said he was still hit it. Yeah, she didn't look bad. I mean, she's 23 years old. I mean, she didn't look, visually, she didn't look bad at all back then. But anyway, Jesus Christ. I got the receipt, so which American doesn't want to do it? Well, Maxwell, you're talking about hiring. Look, I can't speak on it. If you pay, look, I just don't buy the notion that getting rid of illegal immigrants is going to free up all these jobs Americans want. It may apply to a few, but I still believe that the average illegal immigrant in this country is doing a job that most Americans does not want to do. That's why George W. Bush was known for saying they do jobs no Americans want. All of that agriculture, picking fruit and shit like that, most Americans don't want to do that stuff. Cleaning hotel rooms, working in factories like chicken factories and shit like Tyson Foods. Most Americans don't want to do that stuff. UTS, a shame black people make so little that they can't see making that type of money, which isn't a lot. So keep pushing illegals while they run in circles. I don't quite get the first part of your comment there, Max. You said UTS. I guess you mean it's a shame. Okay, you're saying it's a shame black people make so little that they cannot see making that type of money, which isn't, well, like I said, most immigrants are not making the kind of money you're talking about. The stuff you're talking about probably applies to less than 1% of illegal immigrants. They're just not making that kind of money. But looking in the comments, continue on before we go back to the next caller. And by the way, tap the screen. 60. Tap the screen, get the likes on up. Will G says MAGA ain't shit. Says thought they avoided end time prophecies with Harris wearing purple, thinking she was drunk, but when the lawless president of the United States and the guy that literally wants to put a chip in your brain, you talking about RFK, does he want to put a chip in people's brain? Does he really? Well, in regards to Trump, they don't think Trump is a criminal. They don't see Trump as lawless. They believe that Trump was railroaded and the system is after him. I'm just saying money is being made and I'm getting mine. So keep making your $50,000 a year while illegal immigrants make 100 plus. I mean, look, Maxwell, I appreciate the input and certainly the support, but most illegal immigrants are not making. If illegal immigrants were earning that kind of money, they would have found a way to be legal. Most illegal immigrants are not making 100,000 a year. I don't even think 20% of them are. I mean, I'm not saying that somebody in the country illegally may not be getting paid, but that's, I mean, you see how they live. Do they live like people making 100,000 a year? And an artificial intelligence company just bought X Twitter for $50 million. Really? Does Elon have anything to do with that? You know, how much did Elon pay for Twitter? Because he actually, if I'm correct, he damn near lost money on that. The pushback on the Second Amendment and black people is that black people will get caught up falsely. You know, white people don't like anything in our hands in confrontation. I think that's more the police though, right? I don't know. You don't normally, the conflicts with the African-American community is usually between law enforcement. Black on whites, you don't normally see that as much. At least that's what I believe. Dagan Diver. Pam Bondi has aged 10 years in 2 months because she knows the truth, but is in too deep. Trump is a pedo. Whoa. 80-year-old Trump? I don't know. You guys are getting rough now. Trump is a diddler. And there's tons of compromise. Well, look, if you want to suggest Trump was involved in something during the Epstein years, maybe, but I don't think Trump is doing anything like that at his age now. Republicans bank on Democrats being civil and professional while they cut corners. That is true. That is why, and I'll go to the next caller, but that is certainly why Jasmine Crockett has caused so much outrage on the right, knowing damn well they were okay with all of the name calling from Trump, and all of a sudden Jasmine Crockett says something that's wrong. Like, I don't get it. I'm just like, you overlook Bird Brain, Nervous Nancy, Crazy Bernie, Sleepy Joe, but her statement is wrong. I need MAGA to come on and explain that to me. Keep drinking, the poor illegals aren't making money. They have bigger trucks and cars than most Americans. I'm talking about construction. You're really suggesting that there are that many illegal immigrants that are making all this money like that? In the comments, are you guys seeing this? He's saying that, illegal immigrants are not poor. They're driving big trucks and making all this money. Is that what you guys are saying? I don't, being from Chicago, I don't know unless you're involved in, illegal act. Well, I guess working illegally too, but I don't see it. I don't see that. And I will say a few of them. Yeah, maybe a few, but I don't believe it's anywhere near as common as my viewer is saying. But hey, maybe he's right. Maybe I'm wrong. User 448. Good evening. Welcome to the program. Michael,
you already know who it is. You know this is my alt account.
Jeremy, good evening. You heard a lot.
To see you, Tim.
You heard a lot as usual. I'm sure I got something wrong. Now, we'll talk about Jasmine Crockett briefly. Do you think she should apologize for that?
I think she should hold herself to a higher level of decorum. But I will say Trump should do the same thing. And at this point, I don't expect that he will. So here's the thing I really care about. I don't care about that as much. You want to know what I do care about?
Go ahead.
I care about the fact that she assaulted a reporter.
How?
Oh, you didn't hear about that?
No.
Oh, she sometimes some people put their hand in front of a camera when they don't want to be filmed. She straight up went up to the reporter and shoved it so hard it went back into his face.
I haven't heard that. Why wasn't she charged with a crime?
It looks like she might be.
Well, listen, if she physically put her hands on somebody, that's a whole different ball game. But in regards to her comment, though, you do believe that the Republicans are in no position to complain about it, is what you're saying.
No, I don't think they are. I think that both sides need to grow up a little bit. I'd like to see a little better decorum. Here's the thing, like I said, and I've said this in the past so many times, I'm MAGA, but I'm more than willing to hold Trump accountable. And while I still think some of his comments are funny as hell,
What the hell just happened there? I might have to file an appeal on TikTok. Apparently the live went down. Give me a second. Looking in the comments, Maxwell Smart says, you don't know illegals. And that's true, Max. I'll give you that. He says, I work with them, plus you don't work construction. That is true as well. Go to a construction site. It's that simple. All right. I mean, listen, I'm challenging you on something, but I will acknowledge what you're saying is true. I don't know that community like that. But I do, being from the city of Chicago, I know the illegal immigrant community, and they don't seem to be balling to that level. So, to me, if I had to guess, and like I said, I can't speak over you because you know more, like you said, you're working on construction sites, so you know more about it than I do. But the issue I have is this. They often live multiples to a home and things like that. So if you're working on a construction site and you're making 30 or 40,000, not six figures like you said, but even 30 or 40,000, but you live 10 to a home, you can afford nicer things because you guys are all piled in there together. I mean, if you're making the kind of money you're talking about, you would assume a legal immigrant has got their own home or they living in a posh apartment. I'm not seeing that from where I'm from, is what I'm saying. That has not been my analysis of what I've seen in Chicago. And Chicago has a lot of them. Chicago's a sanctuary city. And I have not known them to be living large like you're talking about. So maybe they're doing it in Arizona or Texas or some other city, but in Chicago, I have not known them to be living like that. Rarely any illegal makes $25K a week, says Mr. Mike. Yeah, I wouldn't mind talking to some of them if I have some Hispanics in the crowd, because most Hispanics know people who are here illegally. They just do, which is why it's so shocking that Trump got such a large percentage of the Hispanic male vote, because people that are going to be affected by this. So it would be shocking. But looking in the comments here, I am from Tucson, Arizona. They don't make that much. Yeah, I haven't even heard the Republicans suggest they're making money like that. I'll go to my Instagram. I think Sherbert is there. Hang on a second. You have old talking points. In non-union states, illegals aren't living 10 in one house. You're making yourself sound ridiculous to people that know. Maxwell, I wish I could talk to some folks that were closer to that community in addition to you. Because I'm not the only one saying it, though. You can ridicule me as being out of touch or not knowing what the hell I'm talking about, and I invite criticism all the time, but plenty of people in the comments are saying it too. They're all saying that what you're saying isn't as accurate. So I'll leave it at that. Will G says Elon Musk is smelling like shit. Musk wants to put in your brain. Oh, so he's the one that wants to put a chip in your brain called Neuralink, if I'm correct. And yes, of course, Musk has something to do with the AI BioVex. Yeah, I figured that. Musk ain't gonna sell anything at this point. He's trying to expand, so I figured that. But the chips in the brain thing is really frightening. I mean, that literally turn you into a traceable robot. Hopefully, nobody ever agrees to no shit like that. Let me go back to. By the way, Instagram, if you folks want to call in, we're on Instagram Live as well. I don't know, Miss Mobetta, why that happened, but we'll continue on with the program. I thought I tried to bring up Sherbert. What is it called? Neuralink? Neuralink? I haven't heard of that. Neuralink. Like neurology, basically in your head. Neuralink. Well, you think Trump would let him do it? Probably the answer would be hell yeah, huh? Man, I hope that don't happen. I hope that does not come to reality. Yeah, Mr. Mobetta, I don't know what happened there, but we'll go ahead and continue on with the program. There we go. Sherbert, good evening.
Hey, Tim. I just got back into service signal.
Oh, fair enough, fair enough. So, do you believe we were talking about a bunch of things, but Jasmine Crockett, for one, you think you think the Democrats should apologize for her?
Not at all. If they're going to keep throwing stones about stupid shit, we can throw stones as well. Same thing if that signal chat isn't classified, well, then the reporter can release it then if nothing was classified. If it wasn't war plans, we can send it. If they can be assholes to us, then we can be assholes to them.
I think the consensus that everybody knows what was sent on Signal is classified. I think it's just the Trump administration and MAGA do not want to admit it. But I think everybody, the part that's been released so far, they're literally telling you what type of aircraft are taking off, when bombs are falling, what's being hit. How could anybody think that's not confidential?
It was 100% war plans and classified materials.
Yeah.
But again, you can't have it both ways. If they're going to say that's not what it was, well, fuck you. The world gets to see what you were doing.
Yeah.
The reporter even said, I'm not going to release this because it's clearly classified information. They went, no, it's not. All right.
Yeah, but you know how Trump does things. All of a sudden, if he says it's not confidential, you go, well, fuck it then. I'm gonna send it out there. They're gonna probably find a way to prosecute you. So you got to be cautious about that. You know he plays both sides.
Well, people are getting black bags, Tim.
What is that?
Well, I mostly think about it from the movie V for Vendetta, but it's when the government comes and grabs you and throws you into the secret van.
Yeah, did you see the woman on the streets of New York like that? Man, that looked frightening with mask on.
She 100% got black bagged and then sent to Louisiana.
Yeah,
what the hell? Why are we okay with that?
Because we hate immigrants. That's America has been convinced that if you're in legal or illegal, I keep saying, because they keep saying we just want you to come here legally. Legal, if a legal immigrant says something against Trump, they're just as good as somebody that's taking out Lincoln Rally. They hate them too.
It's pretty sad. We're living with racist assholes that are okay with taking away people's rights, but not against them. No.
Yeah.
It's always the hypocritical side.
But the black, as you call it, I had never heard the term black bagging like that, but I saw it this morning for the first time. That was so fucking disturbing to see this woman walking down the street and this guy blocks her path, and I think she started screaming or saying, because she didn't know what was about to happen. And they're pulling badges. They're all in black, wearing masks and shit like that. Fuck. My
favorite part's the guy recording saying, "Are you guys kidnapping her?" No, we're cops. All right, show some ID. Nah, we're not gonna do it. Why are you wearing a mask? Nah, don't worry about it. I'm like, okay, if you're gonna be so shady, clearly something is not right.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if she had been 2A, if she had been a concealed carrier, she probably would have been within her right to shoot them or shoot at them.
Well, between you and me, 100%. But they're never going to see that in the eyes of the law, especially if it is New York. They're super strict about their gun laws.
Yeah, but you got somebody on the street that's in black wearing a mask that's trying to grab you. They don't have any identifying marks on them at all. Okay, maybe not. What if she had a knife or something? Whatever the case may be, she based on what you're seeing, she had a right to assume that the worst was about to happen to her and that it wasn't law enforcement grabbing her. She had no reason to believe they were law enforcement. They were wearing nothing resembling a uniform whatsoever.
Well, but Tim, I 100% agree with you. But also we've proven that this doesn't matter with, it wasn't Lincoln Riley. It was, a couple years ago, they entered into a lady's house because her boyfriend was...
You're talking about Breonna Taylor.
Taylor's Law.
Yeah.
If they're going to do no-knock entrances and then just shoot the people, they clearly don't care.
Wow.
I believe you were right, but the government will not give half a fuck, especially when these assholes are in charge. I wish that wasn't the case. I would love that to not be the case.
Yeah. What do you...
Hate right now.
Yeah. Now this one is a bit off topic from what we were talking about a moment ago, but what is this notion about Elon Musk wanting to put chips in people's brains? Have you heard about any of this?
Well, he's already doing it. I haven't heard the newest things, but his Neuralink is exactly that. And they're doing it with paralyzed people. And then they're saying they can control, basically game controllers within their mind. To then they have like auto aim when they play these games. So they've already proven it to work. It's just now how far are they willing to go now that they've gotten a proof of concept.
So is it actually? Because Elon Musk right now is starting to look more and more sinister. But is this actually a good thing?
How religious are you? Do you believe in the mark of the beast? Because this is exactly what that says in there. But it would be pretty cool. I just don't trust him to handle it.
And that's what I'm saying is that, if it was somebody who had a nice reputation, maybe if it was 2020 Elon Musk, we might be able to work with it. But 2025 Elon Musk is probably up to no good. So we ain't going to trust him. A little bit different guy now.
Imagine if that was in there and then you pissed him off and he turned off your I can't walk it anymore. Oh, fuck.
Damn.
Oh, no, you lost your right to see because you didn't pay us your extra bill this month.
Wasn't there a movie with Forrest Whitaker? They were repossessing organs. It almost sounded, yeah. Where you needed an organ, you could take out a loan and they put a new heart or kidneys in you. And people who didn't pay, they had to go and repossess the organ.
Jude Law, that was a great movie.
Yeah, that's crazy. Hopefully we never get to them like that. But what you're saying, I guess, would be possible if you got some type of electronics in your brain and the individuals that know how to access that are sinister, then you kind of putting your life in their hands.
Well, we've already proven that Elon Musk will turn off Starlink with countries that are at war.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he do that to everyday citizens if, wartime things isn't a problem for him?
So did the world's richest man have to turn out to be evil? Because that's what it sounded like. It sounded like the world's richest man is not doing. He's at all of the good you could have done. It sounded like he's on the other side of the fence.
Well, Tim, you've heard this phrase: "Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely."
Yeah, I've heard it.
You don't become the richest man in the world without then being corrupted by it. Did you hear about him paying another $1 million to people in Wisconsin for the Supreme Court Senate or the Supreme Court race out there?
I've heard rumors of that.
I just saw a report today that he's actually doing it. And so he's doing the same thing that he did during the election, where he's going to give somebody $1 million a day. And then we're just supposed to say, like, oh, there's nothing wrong with that. We're not definitely not buying the politicians here.
I mean, Bill Gates, who the right absolutely hates Bill Gates, but he wasn't evil, was he?
I don't think so. I mean, he might be a little shady in wanting to make more money, but I've never heard anything truly bad about him other than he bought up a fuck ton of farmland and then is monopolizing on that. But other than that, I've never heard anything bad about Bill Gates.
Well, you hear it from the right. The right has made it. I mean, just like you hear George Soros and all these other.
They were mad about the green M&M losing their heels. Of course the right's going to be mad at him.
Yeah, I mean, but
He's mad at literally anything.
I mean, with Elon Musk, like I said, there's so much good he could do, and
never will though.
Well, maybe you have an epiphany. Maybe
when he's lost all of his money and then the people come after him, maybe.
He's
but,
not.
I'm imagining there's going to Muammar Gaddafi at this point.
He's not. He has so much money. I don't think he can lose all of his money. I mean, I just can't imagine that. He's not going to lose all his money.
Well, he's also been using his kid as a human shield whenever he goes on to press conferences.
What do you mean?
He knows what he's doing. When he was in the White House, all those times he'd bring his kid in and put him on his shoulders 100,000 times. It was pretty clear he was using him as a human shield. Don't worry about me. I have this kid. I'm such a great father, aren't I? As I then destroy the country and make planes to crash by firing.
It's interesting you say he's destroying the country because the right loves that guy. I mean, are the right in favor? I was about to say, do you think the right is in favor of destroying the country?
Yeah, but it's because they want it to be their own little echo chamber. They want it to look like the way they think it should be, not what's best for the rest of the country.
And
they're also short-sighted.
And how are you suggesting the right wants America to look?
Pretty white, Tim. I mean, look at Ohio. Look at all these other places. It's 90% white. And that's what they want.
So
I live in South Texas. Everybody's pretty brown over here. I'm the minority here. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But when you have been the dominant party forever, change is scary.
Wow. I mean, if you want the country to be pretty white looking, as you're saying, now you can get rid of the immigrants, but even there's still a lot of natural born American brown and black citizens. What are you going to do with them?
Well, they're going to have the racism again. What was that? Didn't they take away the bill? I'm getting tired here, so I'm losing my mind. What was it when they separate people with the water fountains?
You mean segregation?
Yeah, they've made segregation possible again. Of course, they're going to try and do more segregation. That wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
You know what?
Say, what are they going to do with all the brown people? Well, you can be here, but you got to be going to use that water fountain.
Yeah, and I've talked to enough. I've had several MAGA tell me that they would favor segregation.
Yeah,
I mean, just
they're hatred.
They're what?
Just assholes, Tim. They live on hatred. They're assholes. I do not like bullies.
But you don't think all MAGAs like that, do you?
MAGA reacts, yeah. Gen X, yeah. Jeremy is just kind of stupid.
I don't know, Jeremy is starting to come around a little bit.
He's got some better points than MAGA reacts or Gen X, but he still doesn't think very critically. He still just comes at it from, well, I'm right.
Well, if he's willing to,
I do too.
Well, but wait a minute though. He admitted that Trump is wrong for not giving immigrants due process. That's saying something for MAGA. Yeah. He also admitted that he said with Jasmine Crockett, the Republicans are going overboard because they do the same thing with Trump. I mean, he admitted that. That's a lot for MAGA.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
It makes me a lot happier to hear that from Jeremy, but there is so much just hatred against the other side, where I have pretty solid hatred of these people doing ridiculous things and being discriminatory against other people. That's why I generally don't like MAGA. But when they come back at what the reasons for their hatred, it's usually just how they look. It's Jasmine Crockett acting like a hood rat, as they say, instead of her just getting enthusiastic about why these other people are wrong.
Well, yeah, Jasmine Crockett, I don't think there's any hope for it. I do believe I think Ms. Mobetta said it. Yeah, the race is not helping her out because she is. I think anytime a black woman is outspoken like that, they're going to get like if a black woman was acting like Marjorie Taylor Greene, that would be an absolute no-no. If you had a black woman going around doing all that crazy shit, it would be an absolute no-no.
Tim, thank you for pulling up that video of her being on American Idol. As soon as you see her face, just, oh, fuck, that is exactly Marjorie.
Yeah, that's her. I had never heard that before.
She's been just as dumb forever, apparently, by listening to her talk on there.
Hey, but she found her way deep into the halls of Congress. She's standing next to the president, so whatever she did, it's good work if you can get it.
She's one of the reasons I want to leave this country, Tim.
Let me ask you, before I was about to move it on, but let me ask you, because that's something that does come up. Where would you want to go?
Oh, we talked about this one other time. Probably Japan.
Japan.
Maybe Ireland.
Japan's so expensive to live in.
Is it? I'm not really sure.
I mean, it's an island, obviously, so living conditions are pretty crap. You don't get a lot for your money. Now, Ireland, you're hanging out with Rosie O'Donnell. I think she went to Ireland, if I'm correct.
No, I'm thinking of Roseanne Barr instead of Rosie O'Donnell.
Now, Roseanne Barr ain't going nowhere. She got the right party in office. So Roseanne Barr.
With Rosie O'Donnell all day.
Yeah, Rosie O'Donnell's the one because she is Irish, and the name O'Donnell. I was watching her on YouTube the other day. There's some, like the Johnny Carson evening shows. They have one over there, and she was on it. And she was telling them why she came there and things like that. And yeah, she's like, I'm full Irish. And she was like, I got family here and you guys have been really nice to me. And she admitted that she feared Trump and MAGA getting their hands on her. And she's like, I got to.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, I'm in a LG.
It would not have been good.
Yeah, and she's she's part of, obviously she's a lesbian and, and her kids growing up, she's like, I just didn't want them to have to deal with all of that.
Well, Tim, I've told you this before, but I have a gay twin and a trans sister, and I am so very afraid for them in this political environment where they might lose all of their rights. They might get blackbagged just because of the people they are.
Do you see a possibility where the Trump administration would ever attempt to outlaw being a member of that community?
Oh, yeah. Maybe definitely not right now. Maybe not in the first year. But they want to take as much power as they can. So that wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
So like, if you're openly gay, they just arrest you?
Yeah, probably.
Damn.
That literally wouldn't surprise me at all.
I know my viewers are going. I know my viewers are going to say they're going to say you fear mongering your ass off with that. But wow.
I'm not saying that. I'm not pushing that. I'm not fear mongering. I'm saying that my opinion is that they would do that in this hypothetical situation. I'm not saying they're doing this next month. You got to fight for your rights. No. Could this happen? Probably.
All right, Sherbert.
I'm not fluffing like you do sometimes.
I gotta go. Good talk, man. Always a pleasure. Thank you. All right, moving on. By the way, folks, as you might know, we're not on. Oh shit! What the hell did I just do? I didn't mean to take Instagram down. I'm going to start it back up. But we're on Instagram and Clapper. We're not on TikTok right now.
Guess what time?
And I'm going to have to start up Instagram again. I don't know what I just did there. But I'll go back to the box. I want to make sure, to the super chat. There's a few folks I want to respond to. Will G says, Neuralink is a company founded by Elon Musk, is developing implantable brain-computer interfaces, BCIs, to restore autonomy to people with paralysis and potentially expand human capabilities. Well, on his face, it sounds good. But like what my last caller was saying, with Elon Musk currently having a sinister personality, do you feel comfortable letting him do it? Do you feel comfortable, or do you feel like there's a possibility that he may use this for evil in the future? That's where the problem is. Like I said, the 2020 version of Elon, everybody would have been behind it. But the 2025 version of Elon, now that he don't got involved in politics, a lot of people probably wouldn't want to fuck with it. So we'll see. They want to denaturalize, and then the next thing you know is Bloods, Crips. Wow. So what you're saying is they want to go for denaturalization first, but you're saying they want that they could in the future do the same thing they're doing to MS-13 and Trindale cannot pronounce this gang, Trinde Aragua, whatever it's called. You're saying that the next step could be going at the Bloods, Crips, Black disciples, and gangster disciples the same way. Yeah, I believe that. I do believe that. And the reason, I'll tell you why. And I know this is where my beloved MAGA suggested I'm fear-mongering. I'm going to fear-monger for a moment here. If you are okay with people being punished without due process, even if they're illegals, because you believe they are a danger to society, you think they're gang members, they're harming people, they're trying to turn everybody into the late Lincoln Riley. If you believe that and you're okay with them going to this prison in El Salvador with no due process or anything, I don't personally believe it would be that hard to convince you to do that to Americans. If I can convince you that American citizens are bad, I don't think you would have a problem taking due process from them either. I believe what he's saying is that it could spread to American citizens. Once I convince you that somebody is a danger to society and they're out trying to harm little kids and things like that, the fact that they have citizenship is not going to make you treat them any different. I really believe that. I really believe that what Trump is doing to those illegal immigrants, you could convince a lot of Americans to accept doing that to Americans. You just got to convince people that the American citizens are just as bad as the ones that were sent to Venezuela or sent to El Salvador. If you can convince them that they're pedos or they're murderers, because the people who favor the immigrants being sent to El Salvador, they've been convinced that those immigrants are all gangbangers, rapists, and murderers. They don't need proof. They were convinced. You haven't seen any proof that all of these people are the felons for which Trump's administration is claiming they are. You just believe it. You just believe in it. And I strongly believe there are a lot of Americans that know, that feel fairly confident. And I'm talking on the right side of the aisle, definitely on the Democratic side of the aisle, but I'm talking on the right side of the aisle as well. I believe there are many people on the right side of the aisle that know there are some innocent people in that prison in El Salvador, and they just don't give a fuck. They just don't. Look, you were in the country illegally. If you came into America, you overstayed your visa, or you entered illegally and now you're in one of the worst prisons on the continent, so be it. You should have thought about it. I do believe that there are Americans in this country on the right that know people are in that environment that shouldn't be, and they don't give a fuck about them. Looking in the comments, prison is modern slavery to keep classes divided, and it's sick. Yeah, prison definitely has slavery overtones to it. Certainly once you start making them for profit. The minute you start making penal institutions for profit, you're essentially putting people in bondage, and people are profiting from it. That is slavery. And then, of course, they're forced to work when they're in there. That is all of that slavery. It is. It's exactly that. It's exactly what replaced slavery. Is the prison complex. I just think that the moment you start letting people profit off of incarceration, we've lost our way. Nobody should ever be able to profit off of people being in prison. You shouldn't be able to mark up the phone calls they make when they call home. If I got to call my mom or my wife or somebody collect, it should cost the same price as somebody on the outside. There's no reason in hell why the inmate should be paying so much more for a collect call, for a bar of soap, for a pack of ramen noodles, for anything out the vending machine. All of that shit's marked up. All of it is. They're profiting off of them people. Yeah, it's as bad as it gets. If you don't want to go to prison, don't commit the crimes. I'm 100% agreeing with that. But just because a person committed a crime doesn't mean you get the right to then exploit them. You committed a crime, so now I get the right to be criminal towards you. That doesn't make sense to me. The purpose of incarceration should be to remove bad people from society. You don't want them harming other people, so you got to remove them from society. Of course, there's some punishment for committing crimes as well. So you gotta give society a little bit of revenge. So you're gonna be in there for whatever period of time. That should be it. The goal should not be to deliberately make their lives miserable or beat them down or something like that. That's not the purpose of it. At that point, you're starting to take pleasure in causing misery to people. And there's a lot of people in this country that would like that job. To inflict pain and misery on people. You know, they sent families to El Salvador prison, and El Salvador sent them back. Says, well, yeah, I know women were sent there. Now, the deal that Trump made with the institution down in El Salvador was to take male prisoners only. The first couple flights that were sent down there Trump sent women down there as well. They sent the women back. So the women ended up going to El Salvador and were returned back later that night. Some of them came back to America in the middle of the night, but they did send the women back. But he tried to send women to that facility as well. So talk about not giving a fuck. He sent women to that facility as well. Donaldson Farrell says most of the people he's deporting are asylum seekers. That's why they're doing it that way with no due process. And I agree with that 100%. They're doing it with no due process because they know if the people could tell their cases, they wouldn't qualify to be sent down there. I do believe that. Most of the people that they're sending are asylum seekers, and they're sending them there with no due process because that way they don't have to ask questions or answer anything. 100% agree with that. And like I said, I think that even a lot of folks on the right that support Trump know that innocent people are being sent there. The administration is absolutely certain that innocent people are being sent there. They know it. To me, it literally is the definition of cruelty. You're sending people to one of the most notorious prisons on the continent just to make a point. That's really all it. I'm going to send you to this place, even though I know you ain't done shit wrong. But I'm just doing this to send a message to people like you, not to do what you did. Yeah, I'm over punishing you by leaps and bounds, but I'm going to put you through this just to send a message to everyone else. And the problem with it is Trump ran a campaign of, we don't mind immigrants coming in the country, just come legally. The asylum seekers are legal immigrants. I get it that the Trump administration, Trump supporters did not support all of the folks that Biden was letting in. I get that. There's a lot of liberals that don't support all of the executive orders coming from Trump either. But he has a right. He's the president. He can write those executive orders. When Biden was the president, he could legally do what he was doing. Just because you didn't like it, don't make it illegal. So all of a sudden, Trump gets elected, and all of the folks that came in legally under Biden instantly became fugitives. Because Trump erased all of the methods they had used to come here legally, such as asylum seeking. I mean, that was the primary way immigrants were coming here legally under Biden. They had cases, all of that. They had court cases. They were going through the process legally of coming here. Trump gets in power and removes their avenue to come here legally, and suddenly now you're on U.S. soil as a fugitive. And if you get captured and you got a couple tattoos on you shouldn't have, now you're in El Salvador. It just should not have went down like that. It should not have went down like that. And I'll tell you something. Outside of look, in my opinion, what the United States is doing on that is wrong, but let's take the United States out of the picture. A lot of them being sent there from the nation of Venezuela, in my opinion, Latin America, damn near every nation south of the border should stand up and demand El Salvador correct that situation. If you don't have El Salvadorians in your prison, you need to let them out or risk of attack. I mean, if you're doing some inhumane shit like this, you got a whole bunch of Venezuelan citizens in this prison where you're exploiting them and treating them like shit. Venezuela should stand up and start, listen, at that point, if somebody was incarcerating a bunch of Americans in an environment like that, and the Americans had not really done anything wrong, we would be threatening to attack. Venezuela should step up and start demanding their people back. I mean, if you can't show where this person committed some serious heinous act, we demand release. And then they should, take it from there, whatever type of, however you want to upgrade it. But yeah, if you can't show why this person, Trump sent them to us. Well, okay, show us what the Americans said. Why are you making money by housing our citizens? Because that's what's happening. El Salvador is profiting from the U.S. by housing those people. Venezuela should speak up and demand their people back. Looking in the comments, Tim doesn't know the environment he's speaking of. Well, cue me in on it, Jason. And I'll tell you this. In regards to not knowing the environment I'm speaking of, I'll say this. There is some fact to that. I don't know shit about Latin America. I'm not going to deny that. But I will tell you this. Because they didn't get due process, you don't know a lot about the shit you're talking about either. There's no way to know. These people had no say-so in their incarceration. The only thing you know is the Trump administration told you they're bad people and you're going with that. You don't know any more about this than I do at this point. I'm just going to leave it at that. The people it's not like they had their day in court and a whole bunch of evidence was presented where you can show, well, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. This guy's a murderer. Here's the victim. You didn't see any of that. All you heard is Trump told you this or that, and you're seeing a bunch of people on TV with tattoos that you don't know if the people you're seeing ever been in America to begin with. You have no clue any of this stuff. You're going solely by what he's telling you. If you are brown, you are going down. Is all MAGA's thinking of. Man. Black MAGA is still very happy with Trump. You're telling me if you're brown, you're going down. Now, the Hispanic community, unlike Black MAGA, I have not heard the Hispanic community really saying, talking about Hispanics for Trump. Hispanics for Trump. I still see Black MAGA all over social media, still defending Trump, still saying he's a great president, doing great things. I don't see the Hispanic community anymore. And I knew a lot of guys that were Hispanic that were pro-Trump. I don't see them anymore at all. Maybe you guys are seeing them, but I'm not. Real quick, looking in the comments. We're doing this without TikTok for a while because the TikTok went down. In fact, I haven't even checked to see if the appeal went through because I switched over to Clapper. We're on Clapper and Instagram Live as well. If one of you folks want to come up, we do take callers. If you want to be the next caller, if you got the Clapper app, if you have the Instagram app, Handsome Liberal across all platforms will bring you right up. We don't give a damn about your politics. We believe in free speech. You're going to come up and tell me I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. We'll give you plenty of time to do that. We'll push back, but this is the time you can speak and correct that. So if you have the Clapper app or the Instagram app, come on over. We'll bring you up and you can correct what you think you may have heard wrong. We don't have an issue with criticism. So understand that, folks. We go left of Bernie Sanders, so I'm having dinner with Q. By the way, if you enjoy this type of open dialogue, I'd ask that you subscribe, follow. If you're on one of the platforms, please do. Canadian Jasmine Murray was detained by ICE for weeks for trying to apply for an American visa. It doesn't matter about coming in legally. And that is true. I saw her story. 16 days. White woman. They gave her 16 days for what amounted to some clerical errors. Canada, France, Germany, the UK all have advised their citizens to think twice about coming to America. Denmark has told their transgender community to stay home. And I'm assuming MAGA is great. MAGA is probably happy about that. But several of our allies have advised their citizens to really be cautious about coming to America. You definitely want to cross your T's and dot your I's because America has become exceptionally strict to international travel. I'm going to tell you, and by the way, thank you for the support, the white man. Okay, I just got support from the white man. Shout out to you, the white man. Thank you for the super chat. I don't know if I'd want to travel internationally right now. I had a family member just took a cruise recently, and I'm like, it was okay. Went to the Bahamas, came back in, but I'm like, I don't know if I want to travel internationally. I mean, our border patrol, immigration officials, customs, they're literally looking for problems. Like they're creating problems out of nothing. I mean, I don't want to be in limbo land. I mean, we've seen what is happening. They are literally making people disappear. There's no pushback. I mean, if a clerical error or some mistake results in you being locked up for a week or two, do you think Trump is going to let the border officials go down for messing up with you? I mean, they pretty much got pardons waiting. Tom Homan, the border czar, can do any damn thing he wants. Trump's going to pardon him if he fucks up. We know that already because he's doing the deed for Trump. If he screws up and commits a crime by incarcerating somebody that shouldn't be, or anything that he does wrong, I think he can be pretty certain that Trump has his back. So I'm kind of cautious about traveling internationally, even as an American. Not to mention, you kind of got to wonder how some of these other nations that you might travel to now are viewing Americans. Now, this is more of a cautionary tale to white people, as opposed. They know my black ass is not down with what Trump is doing. They know the African American community is probably not responsible for Trump getting reelected. But if you're a white guy, I would suggest you be cautious traveling internationally right now. I would really tell you to travel with a lot of caution because we're really unpopular in a lot more countries than we have ever been under any previous president. Remember, they said once Trump got reelected, finally we're no longer being laughed at. We're being respected. That is not true. That is absolutely not true. We're not being respected around the world. And like I said, I would be cautious of traveling to countries that you thought normally were safe. I would be cautious. JC says Trump declared a soft war on Venezuela, and that is how he kicked them out of the USA. So if Venezuela goes too hard to try to get their people back, it can get bad. That, to me, that would make Trump look even worse. If Venezuela demanded that the nation of El Salvador either prove that the people they have incarcerated has done something to rightfully deserve that, or hand them back over to Venezuela, and Trump got involved, and that would make us look even worse. I mean, to me, Venezuela should absolutely do that. If you got Venezuelans in your penal institution, I want to know what they've done. Why are they here? What have they done to be in this environment? And now, if you can show that they've raped and murdered people in countries like America, that's different. That's something different. But if you have nothing but tattoos, for instance, something like you just got tattooed, this guy's in this prison for a tattoo. Some of the guys that are actually watching over them in El Salvador, no doubt they got tattoos. Some of the prison guards that are working that prison in El Salvador, some of them might have MS-13 tattoos. You're going to tell me that there's nobody out there that has a history of being a participant in a violent gang, but they got their life together? You're going to tell me there's nobody out there 40, 50, 60 years old that can say, back when I was young, I used to run the streets with this gang. Here's a faded tattoo. You're going to tell me a tattoo means that you should be screwed for life? So it wouldn't surprise me if some of those prison guards got tattoos on them. They all covered up and wearing masks and shit. Democrats have corrupted. Damn, Democrats have corrupted the world. The liberal whites of Europe have destroyed the European Union more than the Democrats have destroyed the USA. Octavio Paz, I think the name is there. First thing I'd have to ask you is, what is your definition of destroy? You're saying the liberal whites of Europe have destroyed the European Union more than the Democrats have destroyed the Union. What leads you to believe the European Union is quote unquote destroyed? What is your definition? Gaza is destroyed. Parts of the Ukraine is destroyed. Burma destroyed. What is it about the European Union that's making you say it's destroyed? I'd like to know, what is your definition of destroyed? I tend to think it might be you don't like the politics of the European Union, but that doesn't mean it's destroyed. What do you mean by destroyed? That's what I want to know. You couldn't pay me to live in America again, says Darren. Wow. I'll leave it at that. That's wow. Going back to the box, Owen Brooks, we'll bring him up on Instagram, one of the callers, if it comes up. Is that just like Marjorie Taylor Greene, or is she allowed to make a mistake? Like I said, I don't know. In regards to Jasmine Crockett, I just find it weird that the right is demanding she apologize when we're okay with Trump literally saying anything about anybody. I'm trying to bring you up there, Owen Brooks, but it's not letting me. I'm seeing your name there, but it's not letting me bring you up. Yes, it's just saying this. I'm hitting accept over and over again. It's not taking you. Go out and come back in, Owen Brooks, if you're still there. Maybe he's not there. Looking in the comments though, and I appreciate the follow. We'll try it again. It's not letting me bring them up. You make sure you spend every day for the rest of your life in America, Paul. Stay your country's problem. Jesus Christ. Owen Brooks, saying you're unable to join. I don't know why I'm saying that. It won't let me bring you up, Owen. We'll let you reset it. Democrats equals open border, grooming, brainwashing our children, and mutilating them. Wow. Biden helped Putin. Hang on, I see you up there, Owen. Give me 1 second to read this comment. I do see you, though. Biden helped Putin go to war. Biden helped Iran supply Hamas. Traitor to America in our church. Okay, a lot there, Larry. First of all, Democrats equal open borders is false. If you want to have the argument, I guess you could say Biden equals open border because Obama deported more people than Trump, and he was a Democrat. So the Democrats equal an open borders is not true. If you want to narrow it down to Biden, we can have a different conversation, but you got to keep Obama in there. And he goes against the notion that they're for open borders. Grooming and brainwashing our children. You know, I think everybody is okay with grooming our children and shoving shit down their throats when they agree with it. You can talk about the LGBTQ community, but if you're willing to put Bibles in school and force kids to read the Bible, that's grooming and shoving shit down their throats too. And the right is absolutely doing that. So I think you're okay with it. You just want it to be what you want. My caller, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. What brings you on? What am I getting wrong?
So, what is like your main like political stance?
Give me I lean left socially, but I don't believe everything the right. I don't think everything the right does is wrong. I don't think everything the left does is right. But
That's valid. That's
okay.
valid. Sure, I lost the connection for a second.
I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, it's my bad. So you kind of like middle, you would say?
Middle, left of center.
Left of center, okay.
And your stance?
So, my stance is that I think that. So my dad, he's a major, and he. I think that he obviously, I don't think he should lead the country, but we have Pete Hegseth leading the country, and I just don't think we should. Would you agree with that?
So you believe Pete Hegseth is underqualified?
Yeah, basically.
What makes you say that?
Because obviously my dad's a major, and he's not leading
Right.
the entire military.
Yeah, your dad has the same rank, and you can see from that point, like you shouldn't be this fucking high up. I get your point.
Exactly.
Fair enough. Now, what about Trump as president, other than his appointment of Pete Hegseth? How do you think, if you had to give him a letter grade, A, B, C, D, or F, what would you give Trump as president so far?
I give him an F because I haven't seen anything that has positively affected the United States.
What about the notion that he's gotten rid of all of the immigrants and, he sent folks down to El Salvador?
Well, Obama he deported the most immigrants.
Yeah, but is he not cleaning up Biden's mess? That's the whole claim, is that Biden made a mess and he's cleaning it up.
No. So I can actually give you the exact numbers. Just give me 1 second. I'll pull up the exact numbers. So I can give you the numbers of people. Are you fine if I give you these numbers by any chance?
Yeah, go ahead. What you got?
Yeah. Give me 1 second. I'll tell you.
Did you think Biden was an effective president?
I think he had some issues. I wouldn't say that. I think I preferred Obama a lot more.
Okay. Did you support Kamala Harris?
Well, she was vice president. She wasn't in charge.
No, but would you had supported? Do you think she was ready for the big time? Would you have supported her for president?
Well, I think she should have pushed a lot harder, and she didn't. She pushed a lot harder. Also, the Republicans, they had a lot more push, than a lot of the Democrats in the media. They had Joe Rogan, all these conservative people, compared to liberals. They didn't have as many media.
You think there's more conservative media personalities than liberal?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Actually, if you were to look during the election at what the top podcast was, it was actually Joe Rogan, which is a conservative influencer.
Yeah, but that's just one guy. There's a whole lot of Midas touch folks out there, and Young Turks. There's tons of them. Young Turks is out there. There's dozens of them. She wasn't on any of their shows.
Here's the numbers. So This is the stuff that he's gotten rid of. And this is apparently waste, fraud, and abuse. But I don't believe it is because, first of all, it's the U.S. Agency for International Development, which is USAID, by the way.
Right.
That would be 2,000 employees. Exact number 2,132. And U.S. Agency for Agriculture was 6,000 employees. U.S. Department of State was 1,819. And then the U.S. Senior Executive Service, which is the SES, is 500. Now, Veterans Affairs basically got wiped out. We have around roughly 83,000 employees that have been fired by Trump in his administration. The Federal Aviation Administration was roughly 400, which would make sense because there's all these collisions that happened.
You're blaming the Trump administration for all these aircraft.
I'm not done. Hold on, I'm not done.
But wait a minute. Before you continue, you are blaming the Trump administration for all these aircraft mishaps, are you not?
Well, yes, because you understand what I'm saying, that there was 500 FAA employees fired, and that was the same time where all these plane crashes were happening. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I hear. Yeah, you're not the only one saying it. I just wanted to confirm that's what you were saying, though.
Yeah, it was what I was saying. Now I'm going to continue. So the U.S. Department of Defense, that was roughly 5,000 employees. And then the U.S. Forest Service, before I give you the number, I do want to say that a lot of the national parks, for example, the arches, they used to have all these trash cans around the park for like people to put their trash in.
Okay.
Those are all gone because they don't have people to manage that anymore. So, and the reason why is because there was, I believe, 10,000 U.S. Forest Service employees fired by the Trump administration.
You're not gonna get any argument. I know I've said this on my show. I agree that he's firing too many people, and I do believe that eventually it's gonna become obvious that we cannot function with so many people being terminated. So I'm not disagreeing with you on this.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. I don't think you can just chop. I mean, because they're not going in and doing performance evaluations. Like, okay, I want to talk to the manager of this department, and tell me they're just firing people wholesale. So there's no way they're actually doing real evaluations on these folks. They just, 40% of these people got to go, and they're just doing that.
I understand. I want to continue. Thank you for agreeing. So I want to talk about the Department of Diversity, Equality, and Inclusion, the DEI. That was 35,246 employees, and a lot of this stuff is it's not just like all these transgender people. It's not just that. It's also. So, for example, I'm just going to give you an example. So, if there's some maybe a Caucasian person trying to get into a job, and then that job is like, we don't want you. We don't want Caucasians at our workplace. Well,
that's a crime.
That's what the DEI is for. They're to make sure that doesn't happen. So, getting rid of the department that had 35,246 employees, getting rid of them is going to cause chaos because all of these employees have been fired. And when people try to get into a job and they're like, you can't go in here, no one can save them because. Well,
listen, I'm not disagreeing with that, but that's speculative. That's speculation right now. It hasn't caused.
Speculation.
Well, you're saying it's going to cause chaos. That hasn't happened yet. You're speculating.
It's going to cause chaos. There has been chaos already.
It apparently ain't been enough to the point where to me, you should see far more widespread protests than we're seeing right now.
Oh, there's been a lot of widespread protest, and I guarantee you, I can give you time if you want. You can go look up. You can figure out a protest. There's probably a protest that happened recently. I'm pretty sure last month or a month and a half ago, there was actually the Veterans Affairs people, all those people that got fired, and if I repeat the number, 83,006.
Mm-hmm.
All those people who got fired, you know what happened to them? They started protesting. That was a month and a half ago. You can look that up again. if you don't believe me. And that's
I believe you. I believe you. I'm just saying that to me, the amount of protesting, there are protests happening every day against the Trump administration. I agree with you, but it almost needs to be. It needs to snowball. It's nowhere near as strong as it needs to be.
Oh, it is very strong. And I wouldn't be on this call if it wasn't that strong.
Oh,
can you agree with me on that?
I'm just telling you, I'm not seeing it. Maybe, I mean, listen, I haven't.
Now, can I tell you the U.S. military? And again, I don't know why you think it's speculation about the DEI, because I gave you the number. And
you're speculating that it's going to be chaotic. I'm saying that, I didn't say you're wrong. I'm saying that's not happening right now to the level. You and I disagree on the level it's happening at.
What do you think is speculation, so I can explain how it's not speculation?
You said it's going to be chaos. I said I think you're speculating on that.
Chaos referring to what? DEI?
No, I mean just the functioning of the government itself.
Oh yes, I think that the function of the government under the Trump administration is going to be terrible. And I've already gave you the numbers. I've explained about all these national parks that they don't have enough employees for. But I want to move on. I want to give you the numbers.
I'm going to have to move on because I do got other folks in. But I'll give you go ahead. I'll give you the last word on it.
Can I give you 4 more agencies and that's it?
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
So I'll try to go really fast. But the U.S. military, that was 10,000 employees. They got fired by the Trump administration. The World Health Organization was 535. It's probably higher now because I think they fired all of them.
Damn.
Because of RFK Jr. Because he doesn't believe anything. He thought that COVID vaccines cause autism, and you can look that up. You can fact that.
No, I know how he is on that.
He tweeted that on Twitter. So you can go back and look at that tweet. And then the Department of Education, that was 4,200. It's probably, I'd say, 3 times the amount by now, because these are kind of a little bit, it's a little bit later. Jobs, so the total jobs lost was 151,542, and my end of the year prediction is 1.5 million.
Damn. Let me ask you something before I let you go. How old are you, man?
I'm 16.
That's impressive to be your age and this deep in politics, man. When I first saw you, I'm like, let me give him a chance, because I'm like, visually, I'm like, this guy ain't gonna know what the fuck he's talking. But I thought you maybe just got on here, But you're speaking. Listen, everybody don't agree with you. That's fine. But you're speaking proper for the topic. 16. Wow. 16, huh?
Can I give you one more thing?
Okay. Go ahead. I do gotta move it on, but give me the last one. Give me the last one.
All right. This is just real quick. So the price of eggs currently for 18 eggs is $19.27. I think it's actually lower.
Wait. You said the price for how many eggs?
This is for 18 eggs. Sir.
And it costs $19? Where's that happening there?
It's just happening in the United States. And
I don't think that's accurate. You're telling me 18 eggs cost $19 bucks.
Like I said, the price has gone down a little bit.
Okay, that's a bit much. Yeah, that's a bit much.
Yeah, at the time that I researched this, it was $19. The price of milk is currently $8. I'm pretty sure it's still at $8. Okay. You can check.
Yeah, that sounds very high.
And the price of gasoline is $3.50.
And that's kind of high too. I think the average of gas is lower than that.
This was researched on March 8th. So this was 20 dadays ago.
All right.
Price of aluminum is $1.22 per pound due to high tariffs, a margin of 27%, and a 12-ounce soda can is $2.50.
Yeah, I don't want you to go down the price of everything, man. I do got to move it on, but
that's all. But
all right.
Appreciate it.
Hey, anytime. Come on back through anytime, man. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Impressive for 16. Thank you. And go ahead and drop it. I'll let you do it. But thank you for certainly coming through, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right. Moving on with the program, though. What does it say? Do go to the grocery store for your research. Oh, go ahead and drop it. Go ahead and drop there. Do you know how to do it on there? You know how to drop it?
I'm trying.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. All right. So, and some folks disagree with some of his numbers. I disagree with some of them, but I didn't disagree with everything he was saying. I mean, like when you start getting individually into the price of eggs and stuff like that, that stuff changes depending on where you are in the country. So he said 18 eggs are costing like $19. That's not happening in my area. So I don't know about that. But otherwise, for his age to be that engaged, how many 16-year-olds even know who Pete Hegseth is? That's impressive. Like I said, you may not agree with everything he was saying, but the fact that he's, commenting on commenting on the position of Hegseth and comparing him to his dad, who's a major, and saying, look, I'm giving the man his credit. If he's engaged at 16 like that, imagine where he'll be at 20, 25, 30 years of age. I couldn't tell you shit about politics at 16. Hell, I got a lot of MAGA that'll tell you I can't tell you shit now. But anyway, looking in the comments, real quick, make sure I didn't miss anything. If we cut 1/4 of defense spending, we can solve most of our problems in the country. If MAGA is so concerned, but we know they aren't. MAGA ain't shit. Now, that's what Will G says. I agree with that. To me, in regards to cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, it sounds almost as if they started at the bottom and they're going to work their way up. As I'm agreeing with Will, in regards to military spending, you can cut a lot of money without actually having to hurt any human being. You start getting rid of a few jets here or there, or we got 12 aircraft carriers. We're going to go down to 11. Start getting rid of whole ships. You're not really destroying people's lives, and you're saving gazillions of dollars. I mean, that stuff is super duper expensive. You know what? When you look at firing HHS workers, you got to fire a whole bunch of people for that to add up. A whole bunch of people. And those are actual Americans you're putting out of work. You're harming American lives, people's kids and shit. Whereas if you get rid of we got it. Get rid of an F-22, just one, and it probably is thousands of jobs. Just one of those aircraft. So I agree with him that if you really wanted to cut spending, you would start at the Pentagon. You would start at the Department of Defense. And Trump has increased defensive spending with the new the new F-47 fighter jets, whatever the hell they're working on. He's increased it. So I don't know if they really are trying to cut spending or if they're on something else. Because you're starting with U.S. aid and stuff like that. That stuff is peanuts compared to what you could save with a few small maneuvers at the Department of Defense. I don't know. To me, it doesn't pass the smell test. But MAGA is very happy with it. One aircraft carrier is $13 billion and 5,000 people. That's what I'm talking about. Something like that. 5,000 people. I guess if you got rid of an aircraft carrier for $13 billion, not only are you getting rid of the aircraft carrier for $13 billion, the maintenance on an aircraft carrier has got to be millions of dollars as well. The constant maintenance of that, the constant fuel that it takes, even when it's dockside. Just the constant maintenance of that has got to be insane. As opposed to firing, people that work at the IRS or something some guy making 70, 80 grand a year. You got to fire a lot of people like that to add up to that. That's at least my opinion. And how much we gave Ukraine, and you complaining about we didn't get a Ukraine shit. Why do people think we gave them cash money? We gave them secondary weapons. And some would suggest that the weapons we gave them, we actually saved money because by keeping those weapons, they required maintenance and upkeep. We didn't give them bundles of cash like people on the right tend to think. They're at war. They don't need money. They don't need actual cash. We got the best weapons and equipment damn near on the planet. If they're trying to deal with Russia, they don't want you to send barrels of cash. They want you to send barrels of ammo. So I don't know why people keep thinking we gave them so much money. We didn't give them cash. We gave Ukraine the type of weapons, but it was all under the Biden administration, which led to this long, extended war that ended. Well, yeah, that is true. Dark right now. Were you holding on? We'll see if we can bring them up. You are right. We definitely gave them weapons under the Biden administration. Under the Trump administration, it was kind of like fend for yourself. If Russia had attacked the Ukraine under Trump, I think they would have just won and been done with it. Is that what is it? What does that say? Dark? What does that say there again? What's the name?
Yeah, it is it's Android.
Oh, Android. Okay, good evening.
Yeah.
I thought it said dark something. Okay, Android.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Jim. Hey, I have been watching you for a long time and everything else, but I wanted to mention to you it was something about the your last it was about your other first caller though that you had on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was about the where that he was talking about the the whole it was the racism and everything about you were talking about most of people from different foreign other countries were coming into and all that.
Okay.
Yeah. What you gotta look at though, when he was talking about the 40 or the 400 of the makers of the mule though.
40 acres and a mule. 40 acres and a mule. What about it?
Yeah. Most of our forefathers did not want actually all of that stuff to happen now. So
yeah, they never intended to give blacks reparations at all. They didn't even want them to be free.
Right. And what people don't really understand, what I would say, what most people don't quite understand is that most Black African Americans, most of us, it started mostly in in the South. So it was more of Mississippi, Texas, Chicago,
right,
Florida, Tennessee. So
yeah, I mean, I don't get your point on this. So what are you getting at?
I guess what I'm getting at is that a lot of what he was saying, it was true, and then some of it was just kind of off, or
Give me something he said that was not true.
Trying to think. It was something about the last of the. It was something about the last of the administration. Now it was something about the. It was the Biden part where they basically had a certain amount of of the people that were coming, or it was coming across of the border though. So
I don't understand what you're saying. You said, yeah, I don't. You're saying what he said. The people coming across the border was not true.
Certain types of the people, or it was somebody on here. Yeah, they were saying something about the border, and it was something about the sanctuary of the cities though. So
yeah, you kind of lost me with that. I don't know where you're going on that one.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, anyway, all that I could say is about the video of your topic, though. I only saw maybe just.
Do you believe Jasmine Crockett should apologize?
No, No.
Why not?
I would say that she was in full right to say it, though, but I would say she should have said it with a little bit more of the class, though. Not so much of a vulgar.
Okay. But you don't think she should? I mean, she's making fun of a guy that that is in a wheelchair. You're okay with that?
I'm not okay with that. I would say that part is wrong, but also at the same time, when she basically tried to say it, though, she should have said it with a little bit more of of the class, though, and not so much of just trying to either talk down to him, though. So.
All right, fair enough. All right, well, I do got to move it on. I hear what you're saying, and you're not the only one that thinks she probably should have said it with more tact, but certainly appreciate you coming through, man. You go ahead and drop it out. I'll move it on. Come on back anytime.
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right.
I'll give you a moment to drop it out. Looking at the comments, Marjorie Taylor Greene should resign. That ain't going to happen, Penny. That is absolutely not going to happen. Real quick before we move on, Tim, you're full of shit. The abolitionists were fighting to end slavery. Lincoln and the Republican Party were the abolitionist party. I'm not disagreeing with that. I don't know what you're trying to... Okay, you're saying I'm full of shit, but I don't see... You're not saying something that I ever disagreed with. So, yeah, I don't understand where you're going with... I'll give you a moment to correct it, because... And I'm trying to figure out why the screen is still split here. It looks like my last caller's either not all the way out or something's going on here. I may have to start the Instagram up because, yeah, my last caller is still partially in there and it's screwing up the screen here. Real quick, let me look in the... Yeah, let me know. You're saying I'm full of shit, but... Shit, hang on a second. You're saying I'm full of shit, but I don't understand your point. You're saying the abolitionists were fighting to end slavery. Lincoln and the Republican Party were the abolitionist party. That's 100% true. But what I'm saying is the party of today that's Republican is more in line with the Democratic Party during the era of slavery. I mean, it's literally the ancestors of the same people. So that's where you and I may have a difference of opinion, because a lot of folks do not believe the party switch happened, and that's where we generally have a difference of opinion on it, because it did happen. How do you qualify for these reparations? Do you have to be a certain percentage of black, or do you just identify as black, or do you have to have a certain amount of... Well, the same way the Native Americans qualify. The Native Americans get, remember Pocahontas? What is her name? Elizabeth Warren was trying to say she had Native American in her to get some kind of benefits. They can determine if you're 25, 50, 75, or 100% descendants of slaves. If it's just your mom and it's not your dad. I mean, if it's one grandparent and not, I mean, there's ways of figuring that out. So that's how they would determine who qualifies for reparations and to what percentage. Like I said, one side of your family tree, maybe, like in my case, everybody in my ancestry are descendants of slaves. Both of my grandmothers, both of my great grandparents, they all go right back into it. So, I mean, in my case, I'm 100% descendants of slavery. 100%. If you trace my family tree on both sides, 100% goes right into that. Some in somebody else's case, maybe somebody, maybe a Somali migrated here in the 90s and got with an African American, a black woman that was already living here. So in that case, the black woman's family may go back to slavery, but the Somalian just came here in the 90s and it doesn't. So if that's your parents, then only one side of your tree came from that era. But in my case, both sides go all the way back right into that. Looking in the comments, and yet you support a leader that supports the Proud Boys. Well done. Ancestors would be proud. Yikes. I'm assuming you're not talking about me. Republican parties are not doing it because it's prophecy in the Bible. Democrats do it. Need to read your Bible. You are the true biblical Israelites and be punished by God. Turn back the law. Gabar, I don't know where you're going with that one, but I'll leave it at that. I believe in the one drop rule, says JC. Yeah, but the one drop rule means if you got one drop of black blood in you, you're black. Being black doesn't mean you have anything to do with being a descendant of slavery, though. That's different. The one drop rule is a racist rule from the United States. You know, if a white woman got with a black guy, the one drop rule guaranteed all their children would be considered black in America because they want to, treat them as less than. But that don't mean you're a descendant of slavery because of the one drop rule. That's something different. How does MAGA feel about their collective daddy fetish? Damn, isn't it sinful? I don't know where to go with that. Yikes. Real quick looking in the comments. By the way, folks, appreciate you folks that are new on Instagram as well. Feel free to follow if you will. We normally here Monday through Friday. We believe in free speech. You can be critical of the host on this program. I read in comments all the time. People say you're full of shit. I'll push back on your comment, but I don't run from criticism because I don't ever portray myself as a know-it-all. I learn a lot from you folks. Hopefully some of you can learn from me. And if not, the criticism may come in handy. Maybe I'll learn from you. So I definitely do not block, ban, or censor people based on being critical of me or anybody in the comment section, and we do not talk down to our guests. We are MAGA friendly, been that way since day one, always have been, always will be. So if you enjoy this type of open dialogue from all sides of the aisle, without the host trying to dictate how you should think, feel free to follow the program if you're on Instagram, Clapper, or a subscription on YouTube. Looking in the comments real quick, we know people that lie, cheat, and colonize are the curse in the Bible. Damn. Paying child support to a woman you didn't fuck, where's that at? Can you put someone in a box and talk? I accidentally came across this live going through YouTube clips. John Scott, glad to have you here. My TikTok, I just had somebody in the box a second ago on Instagram. Feel free to come over. If you got the Instagram app, if you got the Clapper app, we're on live on both of those right now alongside YouTube. So if you're on any of those apps right now, feel free to come on. If you want to be an actual guest on the show, come on over to Instagram or Clapper. TikTok went down today, so I haven't checked to see if I put it in appeal. I haven't checked to see if that went through, but normally we'll bring folks over anytime. So doesn't matter what your politics are. Free Greenland. Who said that? Somebody said free. Greenland is not. We haven't taken over Greenland just yet, but there probably will come a time when your statement is relevant. It's just not there just yet, but there could be a time very soon when somebody yelling free Greenland actually has merit.
Which controls Greenland, it's not doing its job and it's not being a good ally. So you have to ask yourself, how are we going to solve that problem, solve our own national security? If that means that we need to take more territorial interest in Greenland, that is what President Trump is going to do, because he doesn't care about what the Europeans scream at us. He cares about putting the interests of America's citizens first.
Why are they saying that we suddenly need Greenland and that our national security is at threat if we don't have Greenland? I didn't hear this under Obama. I didn't hear it under Trump's first term. I didn't hear it under Bush. I didn't hear it under Biden. Why all of a sudden does America have a hard-on for Greenland? In 2025, when you got hypersonic weapons that can hit any point on Earth in a matter of minutes, why does Greenland need to be under American control? We already have military bases on the island. Why do we need to have full control of Greenland? Something that they're saying does not make sense to me. And you hear him suggesting that we may need to take more territorial interest in Greenland. So it does sound like the Trump administration is on the cusp of potentially trying to take over Greenland. I don't see why we got a base on the island. We are already on Greenland. Why do we need to take ownership of it? Get it? Because what does that say? I love my freedom. Apparently you don't love freedom. What the hell does that got to do with this? By the way, threatening Canada, Panama, Greenland, Gaza. You love your freedom, but you sure don't seem to cherish other people's. It sounds like America is slowly but surely becoming a threat to the freedoms of others. So yeah, I don't know where we're going with that. Newton's black Trump supporters are the intelligent black people. Woo! Who is Newton though? Newton's black Trump supporters are the intelligent black people. So what are you, dumb if you don't support Trump and you're black? All right. We aren't going to take over in Greenland. We are going to give them more security than Russia and China are offering. You know, that's like breaking into your house because I want to provide security to your residence. If you don't want me there, that's not security. You can't. What you're essentially saying, we're going to provide security to Greenland, whether they want it or not. That's not security. That's you taking over. That ain't security. They don't. Greenland. The people of Greenland do not feel they're under threat by anybody else other than America. We're going to give you security whether you want it or not. Oh my God. The Democrats have not been fighting for a black people. Look at the neighborhoods that the Democrats represent. It's called the ghetto. Gabar, you want to show me some of these really posh black Republican neighborhoods? Mississippi's a very red state. Alabama's a very red state. It's a whole lot of red in Georgia. Louisiana, a lot of black people there. You want to show me how large the black people are living in Mississippi? I'll tell you it is. If you're African American and you do want to earn a decent living, you have a far greater chance of achieving that in a liberal state. You go to liberal areas, brothers working for the post office, the park district, working for the bus company. That's where blacks are making money. They ain't making shit down in rural Alabama and Mississippi and all them Republican areas you're talking about. So when you start talking about the Democrats ain't done nothing for the black community, you don't have anything Republican to show what they doing great at. Nothing. And there are plenty of blacks living in rural Alabama and rural Mississippi. They live in dirt fucking poor. But we shouldn't talk about that, huh? All right. Post office don't pay shit. Justin, that's not true. Compared to working at Dollar Tree, which is where you're likely to be working if you live in rural Alabama somewhere, post office pays a lot more than that. Post office don't pay shit. How come none of you ever said anything when Trump targets men, women, children, soldiers, and fellow politicians? He's bragged about grabbing women called the fat and ugly because they like it. They like Trump being an alpha male. They like the fact that he speaks his mind. He speaks like a typical New Yorker. They actually like that. That's why they don't say nothing. They like it. You can live the American dream as a postal worker. Yeah, that's crazy that some of the post office don't make. Like I said, if you want to find a large contingent of African Americans making a decent wage, it's going to be in liberal areas. It's going to be in, the brothers in Houston, even in the South, it's going to be in Houston or Atlanta somewhere. But you get up into Philly, Boston, Chicago, now you finding people making six figures, got good union jobs and shit. You ain't finding a lot of that down south in them rural Republican areas. They ain't paying them. In fact, the Republican areas don't even want to pay, an increase in minimum wage. We don't want to talk about that, though. Houston is a red state, yeah, but Houston is a blue city. Now, if you want to go on the outside of Houston, and you want to go into some of the more, like Midland, Texas somewhere, then no, they ain't making that much money. Amarillo somewhere, you want to go out there, then no, they ain't making that much money. But if you black and you making, chances are you in a liberal city. That's where most of the black people are making decent wages. And Atlanta is also a liberal city. They ain't making that in Savannah. They ain't making that in Decatur, Georgia. They making it in Atlanta. If you want to talk about liberal cities, the legitimate argument is pointing at the crime. There's more crime in liberal cities. But in terms of wage earners, particularly if you're a minority, you think you're going to leave a liberal city and go to a Republican city and make more money? Good luck with that shit. You definitely will do better financially in a liberal city. There's just far more opportunities for you in liberal cities. I'm so sick of voting, it would be easier to just pay King Baron taxes. You might get a chance to do that. Thank you, my black brother. MAGA is stupid. Well, I'm going to say MAGA is stupid, but you can be out of touch. I had somebody telling me earlier about how immigrants are making a ton of money, and I had to admit I'm not around a bunch of them. A lot of MAGA likely are not associating with minorities. A lot of that shit comes from watching Fox News or Newsmax, and you're deriving opinions from that. And those networks are not showing positive shit. I'll tell you from my own personal standpoint, because I've been watching Fox for about 20 some odd years. I go all the way back to Hannity and Combs. I mean, I go way back with Fox News. In fact, I was invited out to the Fox News studios because I used to debate John Gibson and Tom Sullivan when they were on Fox News Radio so much. And I can tell you that because I've watched Fox for so long, I'm often cautious when I'm in black communities now myself. And it's like, I grew up on the south side of Chicago. I have to remind myself, like, you grew up in this shit. Why are you so shaky? It's because I watch a lot of right-wing media and they don't portray the black community very well at all. If you watch a lot of right-wing media, it's all negative in terms of the black community. And like Fox News covers all of the deportations of Trump, the Kristi Noem. They ain't showing you nothing positive in terms of immigrants. Every time you hear about immigrants on Fox, it's something negative. So it does have an effect on you. I can totally understand some old grandpa getting a knock on his door at 10 o'clock at night from some kid that's trying to ask for directions, and he just shoots the gun through the door when he see who. I can understand it, because if you're sitting around watching that shit all day, it will do that to you. You hear the right always talk about how the liberal media, brainwashes the liberals. The right-wing media can do that too. They don't admit it, but the right-wing media does that too, telling you to, just painting this awful picture of certain communities over and over again. It can do that also. Looking in the comments here. And yet you support the side that supports the Proud Boys, who literally thinks you're an animal. Yikes. Damn. I don't know who he's talking to, but damn. Most of the Republicans in office are criminals. I don't know if that's true. I don't think most of the Republicans in office are criminals. I mean, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio is not a criminal. I don't know about that. Only America hates its own people so much that they vote to harm their own country, just to harm other Americans. LOL. Darren, I want to disagree with you so bad. Maybe tomorrow. Whoever is a Democrat and want waste, fraud, and illegals taking our jobs, you should leave America. It came from Marlene Munoz. Well, the problem with that is what I keep saying. I'm 100% behind getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse. And, the illegals taking our jobs. They ain't taking your fucking job. You got an American that don't want to hire your ass at your American labor law protected salary. They would rather hire an illegal immigrant and undercut the pay you deserve. So your problem should not be with illegals taking your job. Your problem should be with another fellow rich ass American that don't want to pay your ass. That's why you don't have that job. It's because they would rather give that job to some illegal immigrant for less than you deserve. So you got the wrong argument on that one. But in regards to getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse, I'm 100% behind that. The problem is you can't tell me you've gotten rid of tens of billions of dollars in waste, fraud, and abuse, and you ain't charged nobody with fraud. Something's fucking wrong with that. Fraud is a crime. How many 150-year-olds did he claim he caught receiving Social Security? Okay, well, who cashed the check? Not one arrest? Not one person has been brought in or indicted? Hundreds of people claiming to be 150 and receiving money. They're all committing crimes. Where are they arrested at? What? You just let them go? So something's wrong with that. Something is wrong with that. I'm actually fine with stopping waste, fraud, and abuse. I'm not supporting somebody making it up, though. Elon Musk's story doesn't pass the smell test. I'm not going to throw him under the bus yet, but I'm not going to give him credit for doing something without seeing actual proof of it. Way too much fraud to have no arrests. MAGA ain't asking questions. I am. I'm not throwing him under the bus, so I'm not all the way far to the left on it. I'll give him credit if he deserves it. But unlike MAGA, I'm not just going to take his fucking word. MAGA don't need proof. All he has to do is say it, and MAGA's on board. I'm not like that. You're finding dead people receiving checks and all this shit, and you ain't arrested nobody. I need an explanation for that. Looking in the comments here, they took to the United States as their personal soap operas. Oh, I don't know what Elon needs to go back to South Africa. Damn. Illegals buying dead people's names. Well, if you know all that happened, then show me who got arrested. Even the same thing with the illegal immigrants, all these rapists and murderers. Where are all the victims? You just sent 200 and some odd people to El Salvador that are apparently violent criminals and gangbangers. Where are all their victims at? Shouldn't the victim get some kind of justice? Shouldn't the victim know that the person that murdered them or threatened to murder them, that person has been punished? Where are all of the victims at? They're just, look, like I said, I'm 100% behind them if they're doing things that are good for America. But unlike MAGA, I don't just accept anything they say as fact. There's a reason that those folks are not getting due process. You don't want to hear what they got to say. Is there anything wrong with asking to see proof? Does that make you like somebody with Trump derangement syndrome? That's what I'm looking for. Does it give you Trump derangement syndrome if you ask Trump to prove something that he said? Should he be viewed as so high up, so perfect, so moral that all he has to do is say something and damn it, you should believe it? Is it wrong to question? Could you show me some evidence, sir? Is that off limits? Let me know the rules to the game. Donaldson, Farrow, thank you. Appreciate the super chat. Murder rates in red states were 33% higher than in blue states in both 2021 and 2022. I did not know that. As in 2019 and 2020, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Alabama hold the first, second, and third highest murder rates in the country. Wow. I'd be curious to know the source of that. What are those? Alabama, Louisiana, and Mississippi? Really? I know Jackson, Mississippi, they getting down in Jackson, Mississippi. There's a lot of murders going on in Louisiana, in Baton Rouge, and New Orleans. Alabama's getting busy now, huh? I'd have to see you got me wanting to look that up. Now, I know on the right, because of Fox, Newsmax, OAN, everybody thinks Chicago is like the next Beirut. Chicago is not number one at all. Being from Chicago myself, I will tell you that Chicago definitely gets a worse reputation from right-wing media than it is. I'm not saying Chicago's a safe city. There's a lot of murders in Chicago, but it's definitely cities in America that have more murders per capita than Chicago. Memphis, Tennessee is one I know for certain. St. Louis has been the murder capital many times. The problem is Chicago makes for a great liberal target. Liberal mayor, liberal governor of the state. It has a history of tough gun laws, even though they've changed a lot of their gun laws. You can now get a gun, but I mean, it just, it's ties to Obama. It's just a really good liberal target, which is why the right loves attacking Chicago. Memphis, Tennessee, you kind of have to stop at the mayor. The mayor of Memphis is liberal, but after that, it's a lot of Republicans involved. There's no tough gun laws in Memphis. So Memphis doesn't make a good target to criticize because it doesn't fit the political agenda of the right. There's too many Republicans involved in that mess. Same thing with St. Louis. St. Louis, there's too many, it's a red state. There's no tough gun laws in St. Louis and Missouri either. So they can't, Chicago makes the perfect whipping boy, but Memphis and St. Louis has been beating Chicago in terms of murders. The only golden shower is still up in the Democrat. I don't know talking about golden shower. The world is asking USA to be better is just a gaslight trap and hilarious. No, I don't think it's a gaslight, and I certainly don't think it's hilarious. When you got our allies giving travel advisors about not coming to the United States, when you got law-abiding people from the United Kingdom and some of these countries saying that they were held and incarcerated in America for a simple visa error, no, it ain't gaslight. It's real. It ain't gaslight. I mean, I think it's one of those issues where some of us are going to keep ignoring it until it's right up on us, but it ain't gaslight. Real shit is happening. Real people are hurting, and real alliances are falling apart. You should always challenge what Trump is saying, says Major and Boo. Yeah, like I said, we should never get to the point where it's unpopular or considered wrong to question what the president is doing. Find waste, fraud, and abuse all day long. That's a good thing. But show me the receipts. You can get rid of illegal immigrants, rapists, and murderers all day long. But show me proof that that's what that was. We have been steadily lowering the bar for illegal immigrants. It started out as rapists and murderers. Now it's all the way down to, well, you can't be in the country speaking favorably of Gaza. It's all the way down to speech. I think the lady they grabbed on the streets of New York wrote a book or some shit like that. She wrote a book or something that was critical of the United States. I was told rapists and murderers. Now we all the way down to the point where if they say something critical of the United States or favorable to one of our enemies, that's enough. That ain't what we were told. So yeah, I do need to see due process. I do need to see actual evidence when he says stuff, because the bar for what is required to kick somebody out of the country is damn near to the point of, I don't like them, send them home. I mean, it's almost that low. It started out as rapists and murderers. You spoke on behalf of the Palestinian war, and we didn't like what you said about that. You got to go now. Nobody's raped, nobody's murdered, no crime has been committed. Well, but you can't be in this country if you're not speaking pro-American. Next, it'll be Mexican immigrants that are caught waving around the Mexican flag. I mean, like, any little thing can get you kicked out. I'm not a fan of that. I'm just going to say that. To me, getting rid of rapists and murderers is something I can get behind. But now when you start saying the person got to be in America and they can't say anything critical of the country, now you playing games with free speech and shit. Well, they don't have free speech rights like we do. What's next? They not a human being? Or speaking Spanish in public. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Now the bar is so low that you almost don't want to be outside no more. Rapists and murderers, that was fine. But all of this new shit that's coming up, they just getting rid of people for any little thing they can think of. Tim on that liberal narrative about facts. Yeah, what? Tim needs to request a ride along with ICE. He'll change his tune and then probably not. No, I don't, I would love to have a ride along with Ice Thomas Latham, but even if I'm riding along with ICE, I still believe the person should get due process. If I'm riding in a what do you call it, a Ford Explorer or whatever kind of car that ICE is driving in, I'm sitting in the back seat and 3 ICE agents jump out of the car. He's a gangbanger over there, and they jump out and run up on somebody, and put him in handcuffs and shit. And they come and tell me, well, this one right here is a gangbanger. We're gonna send him to El Salvador. See what? Okay, well, can you prove to me he was a gangbanger? I'm gonna still ask questions even on the ride along. I'm not just gonna trust you're telling me to get a ride along with ICE. I'm not gonna just trust what they say. If they're arresting somebody and the guy's screaming, I'm not an immigrant, I'm not here illegally, or I got a green card, I didn't say what they're saying I said, I've never raped or murdered, I think the guy should get a fair say in court. So even a ride along with ICE is not going to make me change my mind on that. If you're arresting somebody and they're yelling they're innocent, I'm not going to say fuck them because you're ICE. I want to hear what he has to say. And unfortunately, we have not heard that from the immigrants. They just disappeared. And like I said, that's where I have the issue with Trump. If what you're saying is true, and you're making all this happen, it shouldn't be that hard to prove your work. To me, what Trump is doing, you think about back in the day. You're in class. You're doing a math assignment. Teacher has said you can't use a calculator, but you don't snuck and use the calculator. Remember the old calculator watches? Somehow, some way, you done got a calculator in on the test. So you got like triple digit multiplication or something like that. And you know how triple digit if you've ever seen anybody do triple digit multiplication, you know the answer is usually multiple lines down. You can see how the person is coming to the answer. But you, with the calculator, your answer is right under the line because you ain't done no work at all. To me, that's what Trump is doing. So when the teacher comes around and says, yeah, you got all the right answers on this test, but show me your work. How did you come to this answer? If you got a calculator, you can't show that. To me, that's what Trump is doing when it comes to the border and waste, fraud, and abuse. He's just telling you stuff. Well, show me your work. Show me your work. Show me due process. Show me how you took this person in court and showed everybody that he was a rapist or a murderer or a gangbanger or whatever. Show me your work. There's just nothing there. Same thing with the whole, as I brought up, the whole notion that 150-year-olds are receiving Social Security. Well, show me who got arrested. Who did you indict for that? Maybe you could recoup some of the money back from them. Show me your work. So none of that is present with Trump. And that, like I said, doesn't mean he's lying, but it definitely doesn't mean he's telling the truth either. And that's where I'm at. But like I said, MAGA believes that you should just take his word, and if you question him, you're a rhino or you're a traitor or something like that. You're not a patriot. You should just take his word. Justice for Jocelyn and Lincoln Riley. Marlene, the killer of Lincoln Riley is in prison, is he not? That's another thing I have an issue with. An illegal immigrant takes the life of Lincoln Riley. The illegal immigrant is caught, prosecuted. But the right is somehow suggesting that, well, if one of them took the life of Lincoln Riley, we should be able to treat them all like they did it. I mean, you're the same skin color, right? So we should be able to treat you like what he did. I mean, Lincoln Riley's killer has been prosecuted. And people are still yelling Lincoln Riley when they treat other immigrants in certain ways. Why are you yelling Lincoln? You caught that dude. Why are you got me handcuffed talking about Lincoln Riley? That dude is in prison. Why is he coming up now with me? It's almost as if you just are using him as an excuse to do what you want to do. By the way, Marlene is a brain dead. So Aztec says, by the way, Marlene is brain dead. It's like talking to a wall. Oh my God. Jeez, I just spoke to Marlene. Anyhow, did I get to, I'm about to ask you guys to tap the screen. I forgot I'm not even on TikTok anymore. It says brain dead, damn. We use the old Social Security number so migrant workers can do cheap labor for farmers. Yeah. America wouldn't be what it is without the veterans and our brave men and women. How many MAGA people served in the military? I'd assume a fair bit of MAGA served in the military. I mean, I would think that a fair bit of them have served. We can't forget Lincoln Riley. You're not forgetting Lincoln Riley. You got the guy incarcerated. I mean, that's like going around and I don't know. I mean, like the Lincoln Riley case has been solved. That's over with. And you even had Tom Homan on television asked about due process, and he brought Lincoln Riley up the other day. I played a clip of him talking about, well, how many, they were asking about why don't these immigrants get due process? And Lincoln Riley didn't get due process. The guy who killed her is behind bars. Why are we still talking about Lincoln Riley in reference to new immigrants we know these people have nothing to do with it because you got the guy that did. Nobody should be treated a certain way and Lincoln Riley should be yelled out. That person has been penalized for it. I mean, what does Lincoln Riley give you, like a free, get out of jail free card to just treat immigrants like shit? And you can, as long as you yell Lincoln Riley out, you can get away with whatever you're doing. I didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on me. I like that. That's that Malcolm X quote from Cedric. Yes, deport every single one of them. Timothy, Richard, they trying. Give them time. They trying. Why such a snowflake? Maine Arbor, you Gestapo bitch. Jesus. All right, maybe it's getting late. There are many more cases like Lincoln Riley. Thomas Lanham, here's the problem with that, though. Like I said, I'm okay with getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse. I'm okay with getting rid of rapists and murderers. I'm okay with getting rid of violent people. If there are many more cases like Lincoln Riley, tell us about them. I'm not saying everything about Trump is bad. I'm not saying everything about Trump is good. I'm simply saying, prove your work. If there are Lincoln Rileys every damn where, stop yelling Lincoln Riley. Tell us about these new ones. It make more sense. As I often say, if you go to Chicago and watch the news, the 10 o'clock news, you're undoubtedly going to hear about somebody that got shot on the news. If you watch the news tomorrow, you're going to hear about somebody that got shot, but it's going to be a different person than the person you heard tonight. And if you watch the news the next day, it's going to be a different. People get shot in a big city every day. You don't keep talking about the same victim day after. Lincoln, the death of Lincoln Riley, how many, has that been about a year ago or more? Like, if you got to keep bringing the same person up over and over again, it shows there's not a lot of them getting killed. It shows that the whole claim that they're all rapists and murderers is not true. We should be, Lincoln Riley's case has been solved and punished. If there are far more cases like this, then let us hear about some of them other victims. Maybe they can get justice. The family of Lincoln Riley's gotten justice already. The fact that you can't give us any more of them speaks volumes. I mean, according to Trump, you got like 18 million illegals in here. I believe he once said there's like 18 million illegals. You should have names you can give at the drop of a hat. Lincoln Riley, you still on that? Out of 18 million, you got to keep repeating this same person over and over again. Something's wrong with that. You should have at least one name every week, every day, really, if it's 18 million. But if these people are as violent as the right suggests, you should have a whole lot of names you can just flip off like that. Michael D. suggests that I'm full of shit. All right, Michael D. Appreciate your input. Yes, make me king, says Big Wigs. I think history will look at Jimmy Carter as undeniably superior president to Donald J. Trump. I don't know about that. I don't know. I think Trump's issues are more, not necessarily the policies, but I think Trump is doing things that are controversial and unpopular. You're not going to get that out of Jimmy Carter. You weren't going to get, you got some unpopular things out of Joe Biden, but I don't think any president is going to do things as unpopular as Trump. I mean, obviously, you start taking away people's due process and stuff like that. That's way up there on the list. I mean, now you're starting to violate what we thought was constitutional rights. I mean, we're trying to now separate immigrants from citizens and suggest that one group doesn't have rights. Yeah, Jimmy Carter would have never done nothing like that. I don't think George W. Bush, Mr. Patriot Act, and the Patriot Act itself was doing some unconstitutional shit, but I think Trump is taking it to a different level. But we'll have to see how history makes a judgment on that. Do you think if Bernie was to run again, he would have a chance with the right in this era, similar to 2016? Ooh. Bernie Sanders is 83 right now. And if he runs for president, he would be 87? No, he don't have a chance. That's way up there. He's 83 now. I guess he'd be about 86 years old. Man, that's way up there. But I'm going to tell you something, though. It depends on how many people hate Trump. Because just like with Kamala Harris, it ain't, I think in Trump's case, because he is so controversial, anybody running against Trump is going to get several million votes. I'm not saying enough to win, but anybody that's running against Trump is, I mean, because the TDS people, the Trump derangement syndrome folks that you guys always talk about, there's millions of those. They would vote for a dog over Trump. So even when you ask would Bernie Sanders have a chance, I think that he's going to get millions of votes. He's going to get all the TDS, as you guys, the never Trumpers. He's going to get all of them. But and clearly his age is a major problem. 80, I mean, that's insane. But they were going to vote Biden back in, and Biden cognitive abilities look to be less than Bernie Sanders. But I'll tell you this, it depends on what Trump does or continues to do between now and November of 2028. Because he can beat himself too. I mean, you keep pissing off MAGA, you're losing votes. I mean, you got the state of Nebraska is claiming that his policies may make the state of Nebraska go bankrupt in 6 months. That's a blood red state, by the way. But they got a triple whammy happening in Nebraska. Nebraska is an agricultural farming state. So Elon Musk tears apart the USDA, Department of Agriculture, and all of the farming subsidies that were helping the farmers dry up. Then they're deporting immigrants that used to work on the farms, so they're losing a lot of their labor. And then they're getting hit with tariffs, retaliatory tariffs coming out of Canada. So a lot of the agricultural goods they were normally making money off of, they're not making money off of it anymore. So they're getting hit 3 different directions due to Trump's policies. None of that would have happened under Kamala Harris, by the way, but they're getting hit from farming subsidies, things that were helping them out with Elon Musk getting rid of all of the federal government and all of the entitlement programs. They're crying out about that. They're crying out about losing immigrant labor. And then they're crying out about the tariffs that are all at the same time. Yeah, they're claiming within 6 months, Nebraska is likely to go bankrupt because most of their money comes in off of farming. And you got to assume there's a lot of other states that make a ton of money from farming and agriculture as well. So it depends. When you ask the question, could Bernie Sanders win? It depends on how much. It depends on if Trump does a lot of damage. You start tearing up industries, them people are gonna vote for anybody. So it depends on what Trump does more so than what the liberals put up. Big wigs, I listened to red state people crying about it. I don't know what you mean. You guys are talking among each other. I'm going to watch the Michelle Obama podcast as soon as this ends. She's not even talking about politics on that podcast, I don't believe. I don't think Michelle Obama. Are you conservative or liberal? I lean left, Foxtrot. I lean left socially. But I don't think everything the right does is wrong. I'm okay with requiring an ID to vote, for instance. So I don't think all of the right policies are bad. I'm totally okay with banning biological males from playing against women. I don't think it's anywhere near as big of an issue as the right make it out to be, but I don't think it should be allowed to happen. So I'm with the right on that. But I'm more left on social policies than I am to the right. So somewhat center, but I lean left a little bit more. You're a racist, says Foxtrot as well. And feel free to elaborate on that. I don't know where you're getting it from, but maybe you're seeing something that I need to discuss. So let me know what's making you suggest that I'm a racist. You know, I don't block, ban, or censor. Appreciate your input. Let me know what you got. I'll read it out. Poorest state in the union, MAGA, most illiterate, MAGA, begging for subsidies, MAGA, carpe diem, damn. You saying that MAGA are the ones that got their hand off everything. Okay, I'll leave it at that. I was waiting to see if Foxtrot responded, but apparently he has not. He was the one that said I was a racist. Like I said, let me know what you think. If you're thinking that, clear it up for me. Democrats in general screwed us, really. How so, William Perry? State your case. What did the Democrats do to screw us? I like to know. Smart move with the MAGA background. Well, no, like I said, I'm MAGA friendly. The MAGA background is legit. I'm MAGA friendly. Even when I do the lives in the car, I got MAGA hats in the vehicle and everything. Like I said, I've been to MAGA rallies. I'm okay with them. Like I said, we don't agree on everything, but I've been to Trump rallies. No, we build cars and more jobs, construction booming, drill, baby, drill. If it go down that way, it could be good. It could be. You know something though, the problem is a lot of Americans don't even think American cars are the most reliable. So, I mean, also keep in mind too, Trump's tariffs, while they may possibly lead to jobs by forcing cars to be built here, you're limiting the choice of Americans. A lot of Americans want a foreign car. Hyundai, Kia, BMW. And Trump is deliberately making them cost more. A lot of Americans may not like that. We'll see how it works, but a lot of Americans want to have choice outside of American car makers. Everybody ain't interested in a Chevy, a Buick, or a Cadillac. Some people want those other cars. And what Trump is doing is going to make them, damn near unaffordable. We build Kias here, and they are awful cars. I don't know that Kia. What is the top of the line? The Telluride. I think that's a nice vehicle. Just like that Hyundai Palisade. I'd roll in that. I mean, I don't know. Try running a Toyota out of oil. You shouldn't run anything out of oil. Sound like you trying to destroy the motherfucker. Alcohol is poison, weed is medicine, and magical. All right, Penny, I don't know about weed. Well, I've never tried it, so I can't speak on weed being magical. Tampon Tim got the name by putting female products in boys' bathrooms in Minnesota. Took it up, it's their law. Look it up, it's their law book, then get back at me, fools. This is the same thing I said about, I'm not a fan of biological boys playing on female teams, but I don't think it's a big issue. I mean, putting a tampon in the boys' bathroom, affects no one. It affects no one. It is, I mean, look, if you hate the transgender community, I get it. So, I understand the hatred, but at the end of the day, biological girl dresses up as a boy and she goes in the boys' bathroom. She's going to be in the stall. She's obviously not going to use a urinal with no penis. So she's in the stall. You don't see anything about her. If she's in there putting a tampon in, you don't know it because she's in a stall. I don't, like I said, if it's hatred toward the community, I understand the hatred part of it, but this to me is a big issue, something over nothing. It just is. I mean, like I said, I know a lot of people hate the transgender community, so I'll leave it at that. Trans ain't my neighbor, Tampon Tim. Yeah, I don't, like I said, I don't know. It's just hatred towards that community. Sure, it's sick, bro, period. It's sick. You don't even know what's fucking happening. You in the bathroom, up against the fucking urinal, taking a piss. Somebody else walks in, they go into a stall and close the door. You put your dick in your pants, you go wash your hands, and you leave. You didn't even know what the fuck was in there with you. How is it sick? Sick in what way? Like I said, I understand the hatred part of it, but call it what it is. It's hatred. All it is, it's sick, and it's going. The kid's going to get raped and all. It's just you just hate the community. Just come out and say it. That makes a lot more sense. I don't want them around me. I hate them. I mean, it ain't no different than back in the day. There were people who didn't want me in the bathroom with them. They thought that if their kids, a big black guy come walking in the bathroom with their young boy, he was going to do some harm to him. There's guys who wouldn't want me to come sit at the lunch table with him or the lunch counter. He's bringing fucking diseases and shit. I mean, just come out and admit what it is. It's just hate. That's all it is. To me, it would make a lot more sense if you just actually was just honest about what it is. Stop making up these crazy. I mean, like I said, there were people who thought the same thing about me. If he get in the pool with you, he gonna fucking pollute the water. I don't want him swimming with me. I don't want him sitting at the fucking lunch counter with me, bringing his dirty ass diseases and shit. I don't want him around my kids. Fucking probably a pedo. I mean, that's the way they used to look at me. So I understand it. I mean, look, like I said, it makes a lot more sense if you just come out and say what it is. We actually are doing all this wild shit, the same shit they would have accused me of doing. And now history's shown that we weren't doing it, and they ain't doing it either. Just come out and be honest about your true self. Just simply say, I don't want them around. I don't like those people. That makes a lot more sense. If you're worried about pedos, stop taking your kids to church, dummies. Yeah, and I say that all the time too, is that everybody you do put your kids around are much more of a danger to your kids than that group. Elementary school teachers rape kids all the time. Pastors do it all the time. Some cops even do it. Babysitters do it. The people coaches, little league coaches, the people you actually leave your kids with, them the ones that are actually doing it to your kids. It ain't the transgender community. Boy Scout leaders, them the ones that actually are banging your kids for real, that actually have documented history of doing it. Man, things changed, and Republicans used to budget conscious too. Yeah, well, things have changed a little bit. They are doing wild shit. No men in the women's bathroom and women's spaces. Yeah, okay. Like I said, I'm okay with it. It's just the right makes it sound like we're just literally drowning in transgender people. You got people in rural Alabama talking about, I don't want no, ain't nobody in your town fucking around like this. It's just like you got folks middle of Montana talking about street gangs in Chicago. You ain't never been there before. Don't let the media brainwash you to the point where you can't see straight. You making a big fuss about shit that has no effect on your life whatsoever. And this is all of that. Right now, what I'm hearing. All of this is all of that. Anyhow, folks. a lot of L MAGAs in there. Jesus. I didn't mean to beat a whip on my MAGA. I like my MAGA, but anyhow, it is what it is. You guys know how this is. Appreciate the follows of the program. TikTok went down tonight. So we were live on Instagram. We were live. Follow me if you have the Clapper app or the Instagram app. Feel free to follow the program there. Otherwise, a subscription on YouTube, if you will. Monday through Friday, we're here. We'll be here tomorrow. Trump always gives us something to talk about. I don't know why that is, but, you know. What did Mr. Rogers say? And we'll have things you'll want to talk about. I will, too. So, here's your boy, Tim, the Handsome Liberal. I will catch you guys tomorrow. You guys have a good night. Be easy. I don't think I'm hitting that right, but there